Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you over at patreon.com/TAC. For more podcasts like The Angry Chicken, check out amove.tv. That's AMOVE.tv.
Everyone, get in here!
Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight. A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is indeed The Angry Chicken. I'm Garrett Weinzierl here with Jocelyn Carney, but also here with a very special guest today, somebody we've been wanting to get on the show for a very long time and finally was able to make it happen. Jonathan Vigil, you may know him from like streaming Hearthstone because he streams for Fade to Karma, or you may know him for being the frontman for one of the most rockin' bands ever called The Ghost Inside.
That's true. We are a rockin' band. Can confirm that.
Yeah. I may have recently watched some bootleg videos of your show on YouTube because I couldn't fly to California and I'm sad.
Yeah, we just wanted to get it done and get back to it and see what we're capable of and know that there's a future for the band live, and I think there is. So hopefully you get a chance to see us at some point somewhere. But yeah, the show's good.
Somewhere, someplace, sometime.
Some way, somehow.
Well, dude, I really enjoyed watching you tweet out that you were coming on the show and seeing the folks that follow you that also listen to the show being like, this is the most specific melding of things I'm interested in ever. And to those people, thank you, because you made my day. I was laughing so hard reading those tweets. That was great. So, yeah, man. So you've been like listening for a while, I guess, to The Angry Chicken and also playing Hearthstone for a while longer.
Yeah. I got into Hearthstone in the beta. I had a friend who worked at Blizzard at the time and gave me the beta code or whatever, the client or whatever it was. And I downloaded it and I played it for half an hour and I was like, this game stinks. I was like, I'm never playing this game again.
Oh, rip Hearthstone.
And then, no, it wasn't a Hearthstone thing. It was just a card game in general. It was my first ever card game. I was like, I can't get into card games. I'm not a fan of this genre. It's like, it's not my thing. Like, you know, I never played Magic. I never played Yu-Gi-Oh. I never played Pokemon. So Hearthstone was my first card game. And I was like, this is no fun. And then out of nowhere, I was just woke up and I was like, hey, I really want to play this game more. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. And I just kept going and I just became more involved in it. And yeah, I've loved it ever since.
So you had the opposite experience of me, because I remember when they announced Hearthstone, I was a big Blizzard fan. I was playing a lot of StarCraft 2 and a lot of World of Warcraft at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, Blizzard's going to announce something at PAX? They never do that. And they announced it. And I'm like, this is the smallest, most low rent, like lame ass looking game I've ever seen Blizzard make. And then I got in the beta and played it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is actually a really good card game. And it's kind of sucking my soul away.
Yeah, no, I've been a huge Blizzard fan forever. Like I almost didn't graduate high school because I was too busy playing Diablo 2. That's how obsessed I was, like crazy. But the game was amazing from the get-go. I just wasn't sure if I was into card games or not. I would play it and I'd be like, I don't know if card games are my thing. Like it's not, it's not doing it for me, whatever. And then yeah, I just became more involved and I was like, I actually love the way this works. It's like a mix between poker and chess, and it's strategy, and like I don't know, it's just fun, and I've been involved ever since. And I started listening to the Angry Chicken podcast back when I don't even know how. I think I followed Daniel Negreanu because he he likes hockey, plays poker and stuff, and I saw him tweet about it and I was like, what's this? Let me check this out. And I'd never listened to podcasts before. And
oh my God, we were your first podcast too?
You guys were my first podcast. First podcast. And now I listen to multiple podcasts, all because of you guys. So thank you for introducing me into the world of podcasting.
That blows my mind that we were the first podcast that you listened to. Because
Garrett, you were my first.
Oh man. Oh Vigil, you're making me feel things. Oh, that's rad, dude. Well, dude, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're like fresh off a freaking plane from where were you?
I was in Australia. Okay. So we played our show, and then my girlfriend and I went on vacation for 10 days. I had it planned. I didn't want to do it before because I didn't want to risk getting sick, because that happens a lot on flights, and the jet lag and stuff. And I'm paying for it now, because I'm definitely jet lagged. I'm definitely tired, and I'm definitely getting sick. So it's
it's a good thing you picked today of all days going the Angry Chicken, because listen, there's only like a couple cards to talk about. We definitely don't have a mountain to climb up in terms of what we need to talk about today.
Yeah,
no esports changes.
No, there was no major format.
There's only like 3 cards from last time.
Yeah, it's a stacked show, everyone. So I don't know what the end runtime is going to end up being, but I have a feeling everybody Wednesday morning, starting work, looking at the runtime, are going, okay, I can get some stuff done, and I've got a lot of podcasts to listen to. So before we get into it, we want to thank those of you supporting us over on Patreon, because it's going to be a long show, and we definitely want to make sure we do not forget. So if you're over at patreon.com/TAC supporting us, huge thanks to you. To some of our newer patrons, thank you to Andrew C. and Goldie, no last name given. Vigil, I know we've also thanked you on the show before, so thank you for supporting the Angry Chicken.
I've been a Patreon patron, not Patreon. I've been a patron for a while now, and it's cool. I like the Discord. I like being able to swap deck lists and talk about metas and stuff. It's really fun.
I really like being over in the Discord. There's a lot of great conversations going on, and a lot of really cool decks shared by the community. So it's great.
If I'm ever bored for a deck list, that's just where I just head over there now. I'm like, hey, who's got something fun? And you can get specified. Do I want me? Do I actually want try hard? It's fun. It's some good stuff. But I did not think we were going to have to use the news segment today. But then this happened.
Good news, everyone.
Grandmaster Season 2 sees the end of Specialist. Specialist is going bye-bye, and Conquest is coming back, but with a new twist. So, Joce, I'm going to go ahead and just throw to you, give us a quick refresher on Conquest, and then let's talk about how they're changing this tried and true format.
Sure. Well, and we should also mention this is a change coming to Grandmasters only. So this doesn't affect the Masters Tour. As far as they've said, that's still going to be, or they're looking at that, but it's going to still remain in the Specialist format. So Grandmaster Season 2 is going to be Conquest format with a slight tweak, but basically we're going to go back to people actually bringing 4 different decks and having to win with one of each deck. So we're going back to best of 5 instead of best of 3, which I'm not 100% sure how they're actually going to make this work, because at best of 3, they were still running, 10, 12-hour Hearthstone streams. So we're going to go back to the days of like 16-hour Hearthstone days. And I don't know. I'm glad. I still prefer Last Hero Standing, I think, of all of the formats that we've seen in Hearthstone. But Conquest, at least, with their new twist, which is basically the shield phase, which if you guys have followed any other esport, there's usually a picks and bans. That's essentially what this is, but just with a Hearthstone twist. So basically each player is going to get to pick one deck, then each player is going to ban one deck, and then the last 2 remaining decks is what they're going to play with. So it's kind of interesting because, I think we talked even on Angry Chicken before about how it would be really interesting if we actually got some sort of pick and ban, because there seemed to be just a go-to ban deck. And if that was the deck you really want to play, then you never got to play it. So this way you'll be able to lock something in and save it from a ban. So I think it's going to add another really interesting layer to what we're seeing in competitive Hearthstone strategy. Way better than Specialist, man.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan of Specialist. It got kind of boring seeing most of the same cards a couple games in a row. And my question is, do you guys think that this came to be from all the Bomb Warrior mirrors?
Well,
I know there was a huge outlash about how boring those were to watch and to maybe I don't know,
it's hard to say, because like specialist and grandmasters is not the first time we've had warrior mirrors. I feel like just warrior with their inherent play style sometimes can just be boring to watch because, you know, before it was bomb warrior, which was not that great to watch because it felt like it revolved around RNG quite a lot. It was like at first, who draws what bombs in what order, and then who gets the best picks in the late game off of Elysiana. So there were, you know, a couple of pieces of that didn't feel like it was completely within players' control. So that made them not as fun to watch. But I mean, like we used to, for years and years and years, we've had all kinds of like control warrior mirrors. Like, especially when odd warrior was the thing. Come on, you guys, you know, that was terrible.
You didn't like having 80 armor and 30 health? You didn't think that was fun?
No. Oh my God. I remember there was a dream hack I was working. It might've even been Montreal last year. And there was a match that literally went to 2 a.m., went to the turn timer, and then they still tied. And we were like, we don't even know what to do with this. Like the one warrior game, not even the whole match, was like 2 hours long. It was disgusting. So, I mean, it's always been an issue with warrior that sometimes the games run really long because of all their armor generation, and they can just prolong games forever with a lot of their value generation. So I feel like that's more of just warrior as a class, but Bomb Warrior specifically, I think definitely had a lot to do with this format change because it's not fun to watch. And I think it also, having only one class led to a lot of people being able to, well, one class and no bans meant a lot of people were able to really pin down what their opponent was going to have. And then we had the whole issue with Nalguidan and Raze, like making it so that purple 1 week couldn't get a good matchup. And, you know, like there's just so much around this. Like there's been conflict. There's been just so much drama. I feel like Specialist just wasn't maybe as well thought out as it could have been. And I liked where they were heading with the idea of faster matches, like best of 3, all that stuff were kind of the good points of Specialist. But I think the one class, there just wasn't enough diversity for the average viewer. Like, sure, you can definitely go super deep on a deck, super deep on a class with all of your different tech choices. And that's interesting for some. But for a random viewer to just see, it's another warrior, or, you know, mage, or whatever, because it felt like that's what we were watching, was just warrior and mage all the time. So I think for an average viewer, that wasn't as entertaining as seeing one player play multiple classes.
Yeah, I was a little more hopeful because of the more frequent updates to the game, I think, was kind of softening my opinion, like my concerns with Specialist more than actually watching Specialist itself was doing. Because I was getting pretty hopeful that there was a change going to be coming to either Bomb Warrior or even just the Dr. Boom, you know, the Hero Power Dr. Boom. Or a hero card Dr. Boom sometime soon. It still hasn't come. Frankly, I'm just surprised. If someone had asked me to put money down on if I thought either Bomb Warrior or the Dr. Boom hero card was going to be adjusted by this point, I would have bet money on the answer being yes, and I would have been out some money. So I don't know. It's like you brought up, Jocelyn. There were so many other little things here and there that felt like it was, you know, a bit of growing pains, a bit of, you know, maybe too much change all at once. I don't know if we can just point to Bomb Warrior mirrors, but it certainly was like my personally my biggest issue with it. I was just sick of mirrors in general. We had we had the Holy Trinity. It was Warrior, it was Rogue, it was Mage. And I felt like most games I was watching was a mirror of one of those 3.
Yeah, so I feel like this is probably a good change. I kind of like that they've, at least for the time being, kept a best of 3 specialist in the qualifier tours, because a lot of people have talked in the past about how inaccessible they can be with the length of the tournaments and everything else. So I don't want to see them go back to a longer qualifier format, because I think that, you know, those tournaments specifically have to go as fast as possible. Like, you want those to be in and done in a couple hours. So I think that it's good to hang on to specialist for now, but I'm glad that they're still looking at it. And they're also making another change with grandmasters to kind of swap around people in groups and stuff. And it's all really convoluted, and you guys can go and read the blog post if you're interested, but it's basically like 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th every week are going to swap to the other pool. And I'm just kind of like, that really makes the kind of stories hard to follow. I don't know why we don't just have one group for the region if they're going to be moving people around anyway. I don't know. But I kind of wish that they do one change at a time to try to narrow down what makes Grandmasters not as popular as I think they had hoped. And yeah, the more things that they change, the more things I'm just like, whew, guys, calm down, maybe take a breath, change one thing. Let's see how it goes with Conquest. And then if that's still not working, then start messing around with groups and stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting to see where it's going to go from here. I really like the addition of this kind of essentially, as you said, like it's now we have a pick and a ban. I know they're calling it a shield, but I like this. It's easy to draw lines between this and other esports. So I'm anxious to see this. I'm also with you on the kind of convolutedness of mixing up the divisions. But also, like, I don't know, there's just so many games to watch. I don't watch all the games anyway. I'm going to be completely honest. So like as a more casual viewer of Hearthstone esports, as someone who kind of just picks my VODs to watch, I don't watch it live. It doesn't really affect me that much.
Yeah.
I get, if I'm, putting my own kind of personal opinion on it. So yeah, it's interesting. We did have a question from the Discord before we move on. We've got so many cards to talk about today, but I don't want to move through this too fast. Buckeye Fitzy said, for the show, what lessons can be learned from the short time Specialist was the competitive format? Is there any hope for a sideboard-like format to become a thing again in the future? And I don't think it was all bad. I wouldn't just... they are just throwing it out with the bathwater, right? Like, yeah. At least for Grandmasters. But I liked the sideboard a lot. And I liked thinking about single decks more than kind of an array because it was more in line with how I think about my Hearthstone game. Because when I'm ready for my ladder climb, thinking, well, what deck am I taking out for a spin? I'm not thinking about what 4 decks am I taking out for a spin because I can't target the ladder that way. It doesn't work that way. So I did like that a lot. And I've always, since day one of the Angry Chicken, talked about how cool it would be to have sideboarding in Hearthstone, and we finally got it with something like Specialist. So I hope this isn't the last we see of Hearthstone flirting with sideboards.
Yeah. Vigil, what did you think about just Specialist in general? Do you think it's a good change to go back to Conquest?
Yeah, I think Specialist was cool. It was a cool idea and their kind of take on sideboarding. Like you were able to target decks. You're like, okay, this kind of counters me, but this helps shore up this kind of bad matchup. I can bring these cards in, these tech cards and these, weapon hate cards and that kind of stuff. And I thought that was interesting and it was cool, but I don't think they nailed it properly. I think it was still a little underwhelming as a viewer. It wasn't, like you were saying, it wasn't, I think, what they wanted for their popularity for it to be. And I've always liked Conquest a lot more. And it's not one deck specifically, but you get to see at least variety. And for me, that's more exciting than seeing like kind of a makeshift sideboard thing work, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like with Grandmasters and Conquest specifically, like you can still have a lot of those same conversations that we were having with Specialists, which basically was the sideboard or the tech decisions, because with the internet, we have a really good idea of what is like the most accepted best ladder type list, right? So if everyone has that kind of base set of knowledge, then you can look at what tech cards that they've chosen. And this is not new to Conquest commentating. This is something that people have always talked about when we've seen casters doing Conquest. So you can have those same kind of tech card conversations, which is really just Specialist, but you have it for 3 different or 4 different decks with each different player. So there's tons more to talk about, not to mention the idea of the picking and banning. Like, are there tech cards that makes them maybe ban something or pick something that you wouldn't normally expect? Like, I think there's so much more to talk about with Conquest done this way. And I'm really excited to see what they do with it in Grandmasters.
I think it's kind of interesting too, is like, I know we've talked a lot, especially recently, about kind of this exhaustion with the constant changes in Hearthstone esports, but I don't mind changing the format. And actually, I think it's okay if we even maybe intentionally flex it. They didn't say that that is what they are doing, But I think it's going to be kind of cool looking back on the season as a whole and thinking about who performed well in Specialist versus who performed well in Conquest. And maybe that sparks an intentional shifting of formats moving forward.
What if the next season is Last Hero Standing, and then I just get super excited?
That'd be great. Actually, I think it'd be really cool. Like, we all know the formats now. If you've been watching Hearthstone for at least 2 years, you've most likely seen all 3 formats. And it doesn't take that much time to explain it if you're new to the esport. So I don't see any reason why they couldn't have flex in the format. Moving players around.
My exhaustion with Hearthstone esports changes hasn't been because of format changes. It's been more just overall competition changes. Like we went from having a few LAN events with some online qualifier stuff and like seasonal championships that included ladder to the crazy travel heavy tour system that was last year to this year with Grandmasters. Like, it's just every single year it's been different. The year before that was like the year that they actually moved it from BlizzCon to being its own thing. And then that meant that we had this giant gap. Like, there's been no consistency in Hearthstone competition. And that's more my complaint. Formats are not as big of a part of that conversation for me. Change the format all you want. Just pick an overall competition style so that pros actually have a little bit of consistency and something to aim for. And they can, like, I don't know, plan their lives or something. Crazy, I know, but
it would be nice. But there's been, internal challenges as well, this year as far as the Hearthstone esports team is concerned. So I'm not too surprised in that way. But they're trying. They're clearly trying to adjust and trying to make it better. I like this change. My gut reaction is I'm excited about this new type of Conquest. So
I'm also excited that they're obviously open to change. Like, this isn't something that is just strictly to with game changes, buffs, everything else. That's all new to Hearthstone. The speed at which they're doing things is new to Hearthstone. I'm glad that esports is being as flexible as well and saying like, okay, we tried a thing. The thing really didn't work. So now we're going to pivot and we're going to do something else instead of saying, all Grandmasters for 2019 will be specialist dig in heels. So
I think that I agree with you. I think it's great. Just don't use that as an excuse to not do something about Warrior, please. Please do something about Warrior. If I hear Ixar say we're keeping an eye on it one more time.
That's their default reply. Hey, we're keeping an eye on it. Don't worry. We got it.
Well, meanwhile, the rest of us is like, oh, we have 2020 vision. We've seen enough.
Oh, Dr. Boom on 7? Well, I guess I lost the game then. Okay.
Yeah. Which, is just all kinds of shades of like 2016.
A little bit.
That's true. Gul'dan came down. Oh, great. I lost.
Yep. Don't get Jocelyn started on Cube. Don't bring it up. Oh my God, Jocelyn, while I was on vacation, I was playing so much Wild and I was playing Cube Warlock and it was wonderful. And every time I won, I could hear you grumbling in Canada.
You're dead to me, Garrett.
Is it Cube Warlock or is it just Cube in general that you're
against? It's just Cube in general. It's gross.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. I was playing Death Rattle Cube Hunter the last time.
I was going to say Hunter's the other one.
Yeah. I hit Legend with that. That was the last time I hit Legend. I was like, this deck seems really just gross. It's just nonstop.
It's just gross.
Yeah.
That's because it was gross, but I'm still enjoying it.
You got me started on Cube, Garrett. Damn it.
Cube in a deck where I can also run Mal'Ganis. I love you, Wild. You're great. You're so much fun. Anyways, we got a lot of cards to talk about today. Before we do that, let's thank one of our sponsors today, which is MeUndies. That's right. You all get to listen to us talk about our underwear because MeUndies is sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You should go check them out over at MeUndies.com/TAC. Get yourself 15% off your first pair. But if you're unfamiliar, they just make the most comfortable underwear. They use a micromodal fabric. It is 3 times softer than cotton, if you are unfamiliar with it. And they don't just stop at underwear. I spent the last week and change on vacation, which means the only 2 things I basically wore was a bathing suit and my MeUndies pajama pants. I love them. They are so very, very soft. And I just recently got a pair with like mermaids and mermen all over it. So it was the perfect thing to wear out in a tropical beachy environment.
I actually gave a pair to my mom and she just freaked out. I told her how great they were, but you could see on her face that she was just like, okay, come on. A pair of pants can't be that amazing. And literally she came over the next day and she was like, these pants are amazing. She's like, I wasn't too hot. I wasn't too cold. She's like, I felt like I wasn't wearing pants, but I was. They were glorious. I was like, I know, Mom. I told you.
And if lounge pants aren't your jam, they also have onesies. So for all you onesie fans out there, MeUndies has got you covered. Have you been converted to the Church of MeUndies, Vigil?
Yes, I have. I have MeUndies and I wear MeUndies. I wish I used the tack discount, but I got them before they sponsored the show. So they're awesome. I wear them, and I can't vouch for the pajama pants, but if the pajama pants are made with the same material that the underwear
they are,
then I'm going to order a pair right after this show using the discount code.
Awesome. So folks, go check it out. If that sounds good to you, you want to up the softness of your underwear game, head on over to meundies.com/TAC. You're going to get 15% off your first pair. You also get free shipping and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Again, go check it out. meundies.com/TAC. Let them know we sent you. All right, it is time to move on to what will be the rest of this episode, which is talking about Uldum cards.
The deathiest. Death.
And we're going to go in class order. We've had 2 Druid cards revealed since the last episode of the Angry Chicken, so this is it. We're starting with Anubisath Defender. That's how I'm choosing to pronounce that. It's a 5-mana, 3/5 Epic Druid minion. It has Taunt, and it costs 0 if you've cast a spell that costs 5 or more this turn. And
honestly, I feel like this has to be a spelling mistake because I swore it was Anubis-Seth with an E, not an A. So, I don't know, man.
Maybe his name is Seth.
Maybe.
It's Seth the Anubisath Defender.
Seth the Anubisath Defender. Okay.
Has to be it.
True.
Done.
This card seems really good. In Druid specifically, because I know, Druid has a lot of big spells, and Arcane Tyrant was all over Druid.
Yeah, I was about to say, if only we had examples of Druid deploying a minion for 0 mana in the past. Oh, that's right, Arcane Tyrant.
Yeah.
This card does seem very good. I don't know. This is, it comes up every time we talk about card reveals, but there's this internal struggle when you're evaluating new cards to think about the current meta and to try and put yourself in whatever the meta is going to look like after the expansion hits. And so right now it's pretty much just Token Druid. If you want to consistently climb ladder, it's Token Druid. Yeah, Lucent Barks are out there. They're having a good time. They're still trying to make it work. But the consistent ladder climbing Druid is pretty much only Token Druid, and I don't see this making it into that archetype, but this is such a strong card in its own right that I don't want to write it off, and I'm hopeful that a new Druid archetype is going to come out and use this card. And while we're on the subject too, because of the whole it costs 0 if you cast a spell that costs 5 or more, let's talk about the other Druid card we're going to talk about today, because it is a spell that costs more than 5 mana. It is Overflow. It's a 7-mana rare Druid spell that reads Restore 5 health to all characters. Draw 5 cards. Lay on hands with a word?
Yeah, it's just it seems like it's just strictly better lay on hands.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you need to concede that yes, you're healing your friend or your opponent, and you're healing any of their stuff that's on board. It's all characters, so everything's getting healed. But it's not that big of a drawback. I don't care about my opponent getting 5 health nearly as much as I care about getting 5 cards for myself.
Well, exactly, right? And because it is 7 mana, it also allows you to potentially play something out of your hand. So very similar to Elise that we were talking about last week, you can basically fill up your hand with this card and still have mana left over to play something out. So especially if you've got defenders in your hand, right? So you play Overflow and you pull a couple defenders, you throw them out for free. You can still you still got 3 mana left maybe. And I mean, we saw Ultimate Infestation obviously get so much play, and this is in the same vein as Ultimate Infestation because you are getting that 5 health. Now it has to be restored. It's not armor, thank God, but it's still, I think, very, very, very viable. Like, I expect some sort of big spell, late game control type druid to come out to the point that they might be restoring, air quotes, 5 health to the opposing hero, but I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't even dealt any damage to that hero yet. Like, I fully expect to see a druid playstyle that is, you know, play out minions, fight for the board, make some trades off the top of your turn to then overflow after you've cleared the board of minions on the other side. So at most what you're doing is restoring 5 health to your opponent, which again, in a control style deck, you probably don't really care. It's very defensive and I like it.
I would like to retract my statement about saying it's strictly better because I didn't read the card until you guys had mentioned that it's all characters. Had I known that, I wouldn't have said that, but it was very, very good.
I still think it's arguably better. Like,
yeah.
There's some technical points for sure, but you have a lot of control over what gets that 5 health. The only thing you have 0 control over is your opponent will get the 5 health, but you can choose to not cast it if it's going to negatively impact the board state too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only thing is that this card is missing versus Ultimate Infestation is obviously that board swing, right? So you can't do like 5 damage to something on the other side and get a 5/5 yourself. But I mean, Ultimate Infestation was so overpowered. So this feels much more in line with where it should be while still being a powerful playable card. Like, just because it's not Ultimate Infestation doesn't mean that's a bad, like, that's a good thing. So I think this card is good. I think it's going to see play, and I think it's going to allow druids to go in a different direction than where they have been for a long time, which was token.
I actually played against I forgot the name of the card. It's the card that it comes in and it restores health to all your minions. I don't know the name of it. Potion vendor, maybe.
Is it? It's a druid card?
No, I don't think it's.
Oh, it's a neutral. Oh, okay, yeah.
I think
there is a potion dude.
Yeah,
it's officially his name, Potion Dude.
Yeah. It's you're right. You're absolutely right. It's Potion vendor. I haven't thought about this card in forever. It's 2 health to all friendly.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that. I forgot that was a card altogether, and I was playing against somebody on ladder, like rank 5, and they played that, and it completely blew me out. He like got all these trades and then just healed his whole board back up to full, and I was like, I'm just dead. I can't come back. I can't come back from this. So restoring health to your team is very good, and restoring 5 health to the enemy hero. It like you said, it's situational. You have the option to use it or not, but the 5 health to your board is huge.
And it just instantly wakes up Lucenbark if you're playing a Lucenbark deck. So if that finds a footing after this expansion, this card definitely helped that out. You can also then deploy your Anubisat Defender. So it's there's a lot here with this card. I mean, Druid too. I mean, they don't have, especially with Naturalized gone, they don't have as many board control spells anymore, which has potentially been problematic, but it would be absolutely awesome for Druid to focus on just fighting for the board with larger minions. Like, that feels very Druidy. So I hope that makes this a little bit more viable. So they may not have a spell. Like, if they do get behind, then that's going to be problematic. But if they keep getting minions along the line of Defender, then I think that combined with these cards, like, this allows your board to stick around and keep fighting, right? So I feel like even though this isn't directly a removal spell, it still shores up that part of Druid gameplay that if you play your cards right, then this is actually going to be really helpful in that class. Yeah. I mean, that is the reality check. What you just mentioned there is Druids. Everything we've seen so far, they're still going to have a pretty big issue controlling the board, especially controlling big boards like large minions. They really struggle against Mage right now, and everything we've seen, it certainly looks like they're still going to struggle against Mage. And that, as good as I think Overflow is, if we're just talking about it on its own merits, and the same thing with Anubisat Defender, it just seems slow, and it does, and I don't know how they survive in a world where mages are still just throwing giants at your face. Well, that was what they wanted for the class identity, right? Was they wanted druids not to be able to deal with big minions. So I
I think if they printed something that was able to take out like a, you know, bigger minions or like stall or something, it's, you know, they needed something like this to help being able to stabilize wide and fight off the big threats, as opposed to just like, here, 1 mana, kill your biggest minion, you know?
Yeah.
Like that card was crazy.
Yeah.
And doesn't Druid have like a giant of their own? Mulch Muncher. That's what I was thinking of. Mulch Muncher.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something treant oriented, then you could potentially get something out earlier, but still you're right. Like mage is definitely a problem just because of how early they get the 8/8s and 7/8s out. I want some like 12 cost 1/1 or something to get revealed in the neutral part of this expansion. Like just something that throws a wrench in that whole Conjurer's Calling plan. Because I would love to see them go, oh, haha, I'm going to get more 8/8s. And then they Conjurer's Calling their giant. And then all of a sudden it's a 2 1/1s. And I'm just like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. You're going to make me talk about Luna's Pocket Galaxy and how insane that buff was in retrospect. And I don't want to go there.
Sorry.
Something to talk about, but yeah. I mean, we spent like 10 minutes, you know, worrying about Warrior. Like it's, you know, that's the other big thing too, is Mage right now is really painful to go up against. But I mean, that's Hearthstone. There's always the deck to beat, right? So it's not like this is some new thing. Always to keep in the back of your mind. But cool stuff here nonetheless with Druid. I don't look at these and think, all right, it's official. The meta for Druid is changed. A new archetype is here. But these are both very strong cards. So these are good building blocks. It still seems like they're missing like one tool to really make that slower Druid something I feel safe taking on the ladder, that I think is actually going to pick up some wins consistently. But time will tell. I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again. So let's move on and talk about some new Hunter cards. The first of which is called Desert Spear. It's a 3 mana, 1 attack, 3 durability, common Hunter weapon that reads, after your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 Locust with Rush. And if you are curious, yes, that Locust is a beast. So that's good for Hunter. Hunter actually cares about beasts. So I'm ecstatic about this card for like a really specific reason. And that's because like I am a #1 Muster for Battle fanboy from back in the old Paladin days. And this is like a side nerfed, reprinted Muster for Battle that's spread out over multiple attacks.
Well, that's the key, right? Is that it doesn't all happen at one time. Though, I mean, your Locust, you have Rush. So that's, you know, you get to attack with them the same turn, but you don't get all 3 at the same time. So
right, but that's also, it can be an upside. In the same way, like multiple bodies spread out over Death Rattles can be an upside, because suddenly if they just like Arcane Explosion, you don't lose all of these Locusts.
They're hidden inside your spear, which is weird, but a thing that's happening. But you know. I think that I don't know. I think if this was 2 cost, then I would play it all the time. But 3 seems a little expensive for a 1 attack weapon. I don't know.
I think to me this feels like a 3 mana 2/3 weapon.
Yes.
Basically, that lets you trigger your beast synergy, whether you have like a kill command or, you know, whatever else beast stuff you need. It's
That's
good.
true. I did forget Locusts or Beasts. I know you said it earlier, Garrett, but
I think it's good. It's not great, and you know, it's hard to evaluate the new meta coming up, but I don't think this would be in the meta now.
I think this would be too powerful at 2 attack. If anything, if I was gonna pimp my card here and adjust this to make it something a little more appealing, I would probably knock a mana off and knock a durability off. Like, I think it'd be more attractive if it came online earlier, even if I only got 2 swings out of it instead of 3. But if this was a 2/3 for 3 and I'm still spawning a 1/1 every time I swing with it, like that's 3 effective damage in a turn to anything except face, and only 1 of that damage is locked behind.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's.
I think you can be because the Locust can't go face. I think you could err on the side of damage a little bit more because you do like your locust is probably going to die, right? It's not going to hit something and somehow magically live unless someone's playing a lot of 0 attack minions.
Oh, right. That's why I'm just looking at it as like pure board controlled damage. Like I'm not looking at the locust. I think
like basically the damage of the weapon is split between like face potential and board control potential, which is why I think you could go, like 2 attack on the locust or 2 attack on the weapon. Either way, I think these could be a little like you could throw that 1 more damage in there somewhere, and make this a more I don't want to say a more viable card necessarily because I don't think this card is utter trash. This card is still good, but I just don't know if it fits into, like Jonathan was saying, the current stuff, right? So I don't know. I feel like there's room for 1 more attack there because of the nature of the split damage.
I don't know. Again, I think it's when it comes online. But again, I think if you could play this for 2 mana, I think it'd be too powerful. I think if it had 2 attack, I think it would be too powerful. I think there's an argument for it in like existing beast-based mid-range hunters because a lot of them are like doing a one of include on the Headhunter's Hatchet, and that's 2 attack. That gains 1 durability, so you can turn into a 2/3 if you've got a beast on board. This is 2 attack already for board control. Again, if you want to push that extra damage to face, you're out of luck. But I don't know. There's something about this here. I really like there's that beast tribe on the locust. I'm excited about this card. This is the weird card. I knew I was coming in today. I'm like, I'm going to bat for Desert Sphere. This is my pick for the card everyone's dumping on a little too much.
Fair enough. I'm not necessarily poo-pooing this card. I agree with your comparisons to Muster. And I think if anything, it shows like how absolutely completely broken that card was.
Oh yeah, Muster was totally busted. This is a balanced
nuts.
Yeah. This is a balanced version of Muster for battle. But Rush is worth something. So I'm giving it points in again. I know. I see why I'm crazy. But I like this card a lot.
As long as you know that you're crazy.
I like this card a lot. All right. I like it a lot. But let's move on. Let's talk about Pressure Plate. It's a 2-mana common hunter secret, and it reads, after your opponent casts a spell, destroy a random enemy minion. It's a solid secret.
I like it. It again deals with one of the things that I think we were talking about last week that Hunter sometimes struggles with, which is, getting rid of big stuff if they don't, or like controlling the board and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like this is it's a half decent secret, but you have to be really, really careful. It kind of reminds me of Counterspell, right? You have to be really careful. And if you play it at the right time, this can be super powerful, but this isn't the kind of thing that you just like throw out on 2.
Yeah, this is one where in the current meta, and I think after the expansion, because nothing's going to change, I think it's not as good as it would be at other points in Hearthstone's history because lackeys. Like there's going to be a lot of one. There's so many 1/1s on board right now in the game. There's going to be even more of them when Uldum comes out. And so if Pressure Plate actually becomes an include, like if this starts getting a deck slot, we're going to start playing around it really quick by activating it on our lackey on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
I basically, the thing I have in my head is exactly what chat room just said, which is, this is like an anti-Conjurer's Calling mage, because it's like, when they want to Conjurer's Calling a giant, you throw up Pressure Plate and then you go, haha.
So it would trigger, like if there was a giant on board and you had this secret up and then they cast Conjurer's Calling, the secret would trigger and kill the giant before the Conjurer's Calling went off, right?
My understanding is that it would trigger after. So it would kill one of the 2 giants that would come out of the Conjurer's Calling.
Okay.
So it's still a net positive. It's not that you don't feel like you won the game because you're still staring. Essentially, the board hasn't changed for you, more or less. Sure.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Which is still good, but it's
still good,
It's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
It's like it's better than not having it, right? Like that's
yeah, but I don't, and that's the kind of thing like that's a really interesting conversation to have, and it's fun to talk about just how that resolves. I don't think you start slotting this in just to deal with that, because you're not, every deck you go up against isn't going to be a Conjurer's Mage, and you're going to be going up against classes with lackeys, and the pressure plate just isn't going to be worth as much. I don't know.
If you're still looking at specialists, I would say this is definitely a sideboard. I'm facing Conjurer Mage. Like, this is a secondary. This is my anti-mage tech for Hunter is kind of how I would play it. I don't know if I'd ever take this on ladder, but I think there's definitely an argument for it in tournament play, depending on the prevalence of mage.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, because
I'm Conjurer Mage specifically, because I do think mage, and we're going to talk about mage next, but I do think mage is potentially going to have 2 viable decks. What
were you going to say, Vigil?
I was just saying, I'm thinking it in like against like a rogue or something, and they, you know, have lackeys and they backstab something, and they're like, oh, it goes off, kills my 1/1. Oh no, you know, like it's like Josh said, it's very good in like a targeted format, but against like most decks, I don't think it's that good.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if that slow druid that's like healing everything for 5 and drawing 5 cards and playing Mulch Muncher for some reason, you know, if that takes off, then pressure plate, I'm interested in you. But yeah, there's just I don't know, it's hard to look at this card with the current meta and think that it has a strong place. But also, like, I weirdly want to make a Bran Hunter. And I'm pretty sure that deck runs Uldum, so I'm pretty sure that deck runs pressure plate. So that's interesting to me, even though I'm not. So I wasn't here last week. All of the explorers don't have me very excited.
Yeah,
I'm not stoked about them. I'm a little disappointed. I'm hoping to be wrong, but I really just want a free King Crush, and I don't care, and I want to make that deck.
Well, Joce and Justin did get to talk about Reno's hat theory, which is a big deal. So
I audibly
Reno
groaned.
itself may not be as big as the old Reno, but his hat.
Is this like the big Luke, small Luke theory in Star Wars? Like,
I have no idea what that is.
One day, Jocelyn, when we don't have 40,000 cards to discuss in a single episode of The Angry Chicken, I will bring you up to date on Big Luke.
All right.
Let's keep it going straight into Mage, where we only have one new Mage card to talk about since last week's episode, but it does tie in to some secret cards that one Justin Robert Young and one Jocelyn Carney were kind of dancing around saying, you know, if mages get some good new secrets, these cards might be good. So to you, Jocelyn, I ask, Flame Ward, a 3-mana common mage spell that reads, after a minion attacks your hero, deal 3 damage to all enemy minions. Is that good enough to make you want to play Cloud Prince and Arcane Flak Mage?
Dude, I think this secret is so good.
I agree.
Like, there is so much damage in this card. Oh man. And I mean, so it's like explosive trap, except on steroids, right? Like, oh man, so good. That extra 1 damage just makes such a big difference.
Yeah, explosive trap hits face, which is like, which was really important for those locusts, Jocelyn. Just doesn't go face, so clearly it's bad.
Yeah, explosive trap going face was relevant in like one Hunter deck, but when the meta involves, you know, something like a token druid or something like a floody paladin, like there's this is just so good. And like I said, that 3 damage is going to take care of basically any deck's early game. So yeah, Flame Ward's really good.
Yeah, I'm just trolling you. This card's freaking amazing. I don't give a crap that I can't go face. But Vigil, do you agree with Josh? Do you think like we're gonna have a second mage archetype, like a solid ladder climbable archetype come out of this?
Yeah, I definitely think Secret Mage is gonna be a deck. I don't know if it's gonna be like tier 1, like, you know, best deck of the expansion, but it's gonna be very good. Like Flak Mage is gross. Like you have a 3/2 and you play a secret and then 2 damage to minions, and then if they attack you, they take 3 more damage. Like that just seems so good. That just seems so good. And then Cloud Prince is the other card, and it's if you have a secret already, you deal 6 damage. Battle Cry, like that's
anywhere. It
Yeah,
if
it's
you have a
amazing.
secret cast fireball.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a fireball with a body for 5 mana. Yeah, that's so good.
Cloud Prince was nuts. Like when you and Justin were talking last week, like I started talking on my speakers, like, I don't know, like this card is good enough. I kind of want to just run the secrets we have to make Cloud Prince work because holy shit, like that's a really good effect. But like I totally understood where you were coming from. But yeah, now that Flame Ward has been revealed, like I totally day one want to make a secret mage. Like this seems so freaking strong. And it's also like me personally, this is the type of mage I like playing. This is the type of mage I always wanted to play. Like when I first started playing Hearthstone, you know, I was playing Magic at the time. I was just like, I love controlling like spells that can go where I want them to go. Mage had it in spades, like right out the gate. And it hasn't always been like that. So I
feel like what's really great about just what could potentially be this tempo secret mage is that essentially these passive effects on these new cards let you not really worry about the board. Like anything that's going to come out against you early is probably going to get dealt with by you basically having to do nothing more than play the cards that are in your hand, you know, play out your minions, play out your secrets. By the time you're done playing your stuff, the enemy just won't have a board anymore and you haven't done anything crazy special, right? And then you can focus your minion attacks, you can focus your spells, like everything can just go face and you don't have to worry about them, you know, trading stuff off. Like I just, oh man, the passive stuff on this is just so good.
Yeah,
Plus, like explosive trap is still a thing, or not explosive trap, explosive rune. Oh man, they're just no opponent's gonna have a board.
Like think if you're playing against a mage, right, and they turn to play the flak mage, so you have to expect they're going to play a secret next turn. You're like, okay, I can play this minion. It's most likely going to die. Like it's going to take 2 damage. Do I want to do that? Like, and it just sets you so far behind because you have to play on the back foot as opposed to, you know, combating against a 3/2. I don't know. I think it's so good. I think these 2 cards combined are so good.
Not to mention, I mean, we've even seen a lot of current mage decks playing Sorcerer's Apprentice on 2, and those are often really hard to deal with. So this is another 2-mana 3/2 that seems like it should just die when you play it out, but majority of the time it won't. So it's going to stick around. And even if they manage to kill your flak mage, okay, fine. Now my Sorcerer's Apprentice is safe. Like there's just so many cool things you can do with a tempo secret mage deck that I think that this... It'll be interesting to see if it can actually compete with something like a Bomb Warrior, like with a super like S tier deck. I don't know if it's going to be able to, but I think it's going to be a solid like tier 1, like not way overpowered, but like decent for climbing.
I mean, the patch is probably on the horizon, right? Where they're just like, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, we messed up. Just reverse it. But yeah. I'm with you. I have nothing new to add. So let's just keep the ball rolling. Before we move into Paladin and get kind of on the back half of these class cards, we have one more sponsor to thank today, and that is Harry's Razors. You can check them out by going to harrys.com/TAC, and you're going to be able to redeem a trial set if you go to that URL. As well, I just got done with my summer travels. Just enjoyed a lovely little vacation with Katie, and we just shared Harry's razor the whole time. You know, I had to keep my neck beard in check on that vacation. You know, it's very easy to let yourself go when you're sleeping until like 11 every day and just floating around in salt water. But just kept it up and had to be like, Katie, where'd it go? Where'd you take my razor? I need to clean my cheeks up.
Got to be beach ready, man.
You do. You're absolutely right. You know, I was not joking on the last episode I was on when I was like, you know, I'm going to spend a lot of days with my shirt off. I got to, you know, keep certain things in check.
Certain things.
Certain things. Listen, you know, ain't nothing wrong with a little chest hair, but there's, you know, maybe I don't want it growing up onto my shoulders. You know, sometimes you gotta, you know, beat it back. So I get a lot of use out of my hair razors. I'm a big fan. And they deliver them right to your door. They're high quality, travel friendly shave supplies. You can get a great low price. It's just $2 per blade. So go check them out and redeem your trial set. You get a weighted ergonomic handle for an easy grip. You get a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, which I abused greatly on my trip recently. You also get a rich lathering shave gel, and it smells so good. And then a travel blade cover, so you can take it with you on the go. Makes it nice and easy. You can redeem your trial set over at harrys.com/TAC. Again, head on over to harrys.com/TAC, redeem that offer, and let them know the Angry Chicken sent you. You will help support the show. We thank them for their support. Thank you for going to harrys.com/TAC. And now we're going to talk about Paladin. Uther doesn't like to shave. He's got quite the beard. It's a long one. And Paladin's getting some more mummies on. We're going to talk about Micro Mummy, a 2-mana 1/2 epic Paladin mech with Reborn. It also reads, at the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion +1 attack. Doesn't have to be a mech. It's not purely mech synergy here. Any other friendly minions can get that +1 attack at the end of your turn. I mean, this is a sticky mech. And that's what mech decks want, right? They want something that's going to have a high chance to stick around for that sweet, sweet magnetize.
Honestly, I didn't realize this was a mech when I first looked at the card, and I was like, oh, you know, this is kind of okay. But the fact that it just has that mech synergy means it's probably like mech Paladin is fairly powerful anyway. So I think that this could be maybe not an auto include, but it's definitely on deck for things I would consider for an early game. I don't know though. Okay, I know, Garrett, you weren't on the show last week, and obviously Vigil, you're our guest. So I want to know what you guys think about just mummy flavor in Paladin, period, because I'm like, it's causing me so many problems. I'm just like, Paladins shouldn't be resurrecting things and making mummies. This just doesn't seem like thing that a Paladin should do.
Well, first of all, Paladins literally can resurrect in World of Warcraft.
I know, but like mummies, I don't know.
Mummies do seem a little undeady for sure.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
They're a little like anti-light.
Is this lore nerd Joce coming out right now?
This is 100% lore nerding.
Yeah, Vigil, did you bring your 20-sided die? We're about to roll some initiative.
I got it over there. Should I go grab it? I've been known to roll a natural 20 once or twice in my life.
It's a little funky for sure. I will give you that, Jocelyn. But also, like, this is Hearthstone, and these mummies are kind of like adorable, like mermaid Joce.
How scary is that actual mummy? He's not very scary at all.
If anything, it's scary because he's a mech in disguise. He's like, woo, look at me, I'm totally undead. Don't look at my metal bits. Woo.
He's trick-or-treating.
Oh my god.
That's what this mech is doing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like, making mummies, the quest, like, I'm not sold on it. So I this obviously helps the quest be completed for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not like jazzed about it. Like Paladin overall, to me, like, it's kind of like a lot of the Druid cards I've been looking at. I'm like, oh, this is all like cool in its own right. Like Micro Mummy, I think this is a good card. If I'm just looking at this card, kind of giving it the vacuum test where I'm just going to look at this card and assess it on its own merit, I think this is really strong. 1/2, okay, a little weak for 2 mana, but it has that reborn that is worth something. It will most likely come back unless it's silenced or like a polymorph effect. And
like, if you're silencing or polymorphing my 1/2, I am totally okay with you wasting that resource. Like,
yeah, totally. So extremely likely it's going to come back. So you're effectively looking at 2-3 worth of stats for 2 mana and the potential to help buff your board, which is great. And it's got the mech tag, which is just a good thing, especially on a sticky minion. It's actually a better thing, I think, on a sticky minion than just a vanilla mech minion.
One thing, though, I don't know if you're going to be putting this into any deck that runs Kangor's Endless Army, right? Because
totally. Yeah, I was working up to that.
Okay, sorry.
I was leading to, like, my main point, which is overall, I think Paladin looks kind of weak. The week before when you weren't on, Joce, Justin and I were looking at all those 1 health minions going, there's totally something here, right? Well, there's only 2 more Paladin cards that haven't been revealed in their commons. I don't think we're going to find the answer for those 1 health minions in those 2 commons. So, and
we've got the quest already, right? So we know that the quest has nothing to do with 1 health minions.
No, not at all. None of those 1 health minions have reborn. So I'm just like, what's going on? I don't understand. Paladin seems to have a theme issue, and it also just seems fair. Like all their cards, I'm like, yeah, they're not bad, but they're not good. And fair doesn't cut it in Hearthstone. It sure as hell doesn't cut it right now, because there's some really tightly tuned decks that are going to eat your lunch if you're just doing normal things on curve.
They're retroactively making up for how good Odd Paladin was.
Yeah.
They're They're like, it was too good for so long. Let's just make Paladin okay for a while.
Yeah, they just don't want anyone playing Paladin. I wish they'd done that with Warlock, because it seems like Warlock had one expansion off and now it's going to be good again.
Well, now, but yeah, I don't know. It's been the whole start of this year. I feel like Warlock hasn't been particularly great, so it's all right.
That's only been since April.
Yeah, it's fine. The Paladin's
like
only been bad since
rotated,
April.
and then Warlock dropped off, but there were still some people doing zoo things, so it was still kind of there.
Well, zoo is always going to be there. You can't begrudge. You can't begrudge Warlock for zoo. Zoo is always going to be there. Like, as long as they can spend 2 mana and draw a card, zoo is going to be there.
Yeah. And
it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, overall, I think Paladin is just looking pretty weak to me. And yeah, you're totally right. Micro Mummy is weird because its stickiness is good that it's a mech because of Magnetize, but it's a 1/2 mech, so it dilutes your Kangor's pool drastically.
Yeah, because you're basically going to end up with, if you play 2 mummies, then that means you're going to have 4 micro mummies in your pool. And although you could potentially magnetize to them, because then if they came back, they would come back with those magnetized bonuses, it's still like such an edge case to make. Like, you have to do so much work to make this card work with Endless Army that I don't know if I would rather run early game micro mummy and forego having an Endless Army, as opposed to like not putting the micro mummy in. Like, I think you swap micro mummy for Kangors and you just go, okay, I don't Kangors anymore.
So if you were to play Kangors in this army, right, and it brings back random mechs, would you be able to bring back the one with Reborn or the one without Reborn? Like, would that one be able to come back too?
I would assume yes, because it brings back mechs that have died this game, right? So technically the Reborn version is also a mech that has died on your side of the board. So
if you bring back a 2 mana 1/1, if feels bad for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing, right? You'd have to then magnetize to like both sides of the mummy. So you'd have to like magnetize 4 times in order to make the mummies you were bringing back be decent. So I feel like you just don't play those 2 cards together.
Yeah, and this doesn't have it magnetize on itself. This has to be on the board and then get magnetized too. So even like the first half, both halves of the body are a risk because you're playing on curve. The 1/2 may just die. I don't want Kangors in the summer bringing back 1/2, and then they also have a way to deal with the 1/1 left behind. Suddenly, I have 2 very bad mechs in my Kangors pool.
Yeah, I feel like potentially this is the kind of thing that we just have to see play out, because I mean, it's basically 4 spots in your pool, right? So can you put enough super big, awesome things that on average you're going to do well with Endless Army, or are those 4 spots taken up by these micro mummies going to have a negative effect on your overall pool? And that, I feel like, is one of those stat type questions that we're not really going to know until we see the expansion go live, and you just have to kind of play around with and find that right balance if you do still want to run Endless Army. But I think that it's at least a consideration. It's something you have to be careful of. Like, if you know all you've played is like one of the little like eggs and then also a couple of micro mummies, like, you never cast that Endless Army. So, and if you have to hold off until the point that your Endless Army pool is big enough that you're probably not going to get 3 mummies, then have you held off too long and lost the game? So it's a feel thing that we're not going to really know until the expansion launches, I think. Maybe someone could theory craft it. Yeah.
And Tavern's bringing up a good point, too, that a lot of current mech paladins run Snip Snap and the 1/1s to loot your Kangors pool, and they're running Kangors anyway. You're just hoping to high roll, and that's all well and good. But, like, I would also argue that mech paladin isn't a particularly great ladder climbing deck right now.
And I don't necessarily think Snip Snap on its own, the 2/3 with the Death Rattle, like, that's not nearly as low rolly as a 1/2.
No, I think but the tokens that come off of a Snip Snap also dilute.
I see what you're saying.
Kangors.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yes. So, like, totally good point there. So I don't know, because, like, it's a good minion in its own right, and you definitely want to play it in a mech deck. So I think you're going to give it a shot anyway. It's just that Mech Paladin, like, it can work, but if your goal is to climb, you can make it so much easier on yourself with a different archetype. And I don't think Micro Mummy does enough that I think I don't assume the expansion hits, Micro Mummy is out, suddenly Mech Paladin is just tearing up the ladder. This doesn't do enough.
Is it worth noting that Christology draws both of them?
I hadn't thought about that. So I would argue, yes, that is definitely worth noting.
Because right now Christology draws what? The Elven Archer. That's what it's used for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's worth putting it, like, anything that you can, target a draw. That's always worth looking at, but you're not doing some crazy combo with Micro Mummy, but it is just good that you can find it. So I don't know. I'm in this weird spot where, like, I really like this card, but also I don't think Paladin's very good, or I don't think they're going to be particularly better after the jump. So
if nothing else, it's adorable.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other Paladin card that we haven't talked about yet, which is Pharaoh's Blessing. It is a 6-mana rare Paladin spell. It reads, give a minion +4/+4, Divine Shield, and Taunt, which are better because this is a very late blessing.
This card, if nothing else, makes me think that Blessing of Kings might actually be Hall of Famed.
Oh man, I think this is so slow compared to Blessing of Kings is good because of how early you can get that blessing out.
I agree. I think Blessing of Kings is very, very strong. And the fact that this is a Kings with about, like, I would say usually Taunt is worth like half a mana. Same with Divine Shield. So I feel like this should be like a 5-cost spell. And because Blessing of Kings exists in Standard, like, why would you ever play this over Kings? So that's why I think maybe they're looking at Hall of Faming Kings.
Discover, random card generation. Just because you don't want to put it in, you don't want to give it a deck slot, doesn't mean that it's not going to see play, that it won't impact Hearthstone. Like, it's a blanket statement we should just state at the beginning of every card reveal episode. But yeah, I don't know. That's a little tinfoil hat there, Jocelyn. I'm gonna.
Hey, I am the tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I think this is just kind of a slow, underpowered card. Really, at the end of the day, and I think it was intentionally.
Did you say underpowered card?
I didn't pronounce my D.
I didn't hear the D. I was like, it's a very underpowered card.
Yeah, this is the Prius of you know what it is? This is the Prius of blessings. It's going to show up late, and it's not going to have a lot of style.
There you go. Oh, man.
I had a Prius. No hate to Prius owners. It was a very practical vehicle.
very practical.
Hey, man, it was a mini game every day, getting out, seeing the best MPG I could get. As opposed to the best arrival time I could manage. Yeah, I think this is a bad card, but you're sometimes going to find it. So,
do you think that we ever see a minion buff deck possibly over in Wild where we've got a lot more tools? Like,
oh, sure, but it doesn't run this card.
Yeah, I guess so. I was just thinking like Prelates, and then was it Linessa? The one that got all everything that you would cast on her, or anything you'd cast on anything got cast on her. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how, like, last episode, y'all were kind of riffing on how much we all go, well, in Wild, this will be fun. Like that's how I feel about Immortal Prelate. Like, anytime I look at a buff card in Paladin, we all go, maybe it's finally Immortal Prelate's time. And you know what? It's never Immortal Prelate's time. It never comes.
Yeah, it's been around. It's been like Paladin adjacent, or maybe meta adjacent is a better word for that. But I don't know. I still think if this was a 5-mana spell, that we would be seeing it all the time. Like, I think that this would be just absolutely amazing, which maybe that's the problem, right? Where we can't have half mana costs in Hearthstone. It's like, this isn't that great at 6, but it's also too powerful at 5. So where do we put that? 6 is safer. And especially since we have now seen buffs in Hearthstone, maybe they're starting high and then they'll drop it if it doesn't see play in some sort of crazy buff extravaganza again. Who knows?
Well, what was that card that gave your minion +3 attack and Divine Shield? Was that ever played?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh my God. I
don't remember the name, but I definitely know the card that you're talking about. And I don't ever really remember it outside of, I think potentially there was like one aggro deck a couple years ago that played it. But
Seal of Champions. Thank you, Chad. Yeah, it was. Yeah, give him an verbosity attack and Divine Shield. That, oh my god, that's going all the way back to GGT. I love that you've been playing since beta.
So you're paying double for taunt and more health.
Yeah.
Basically. So I don't know. Six mana is too much. Like, you want to be doing something way better on 6 mana. Like,
yeah, it's like, it is a swing for sure. You throw it on something, you make a trade, it survives. It's a giant body now, or it might just help you get there. So like +4/+4 is a big swing, but you can already do it with kings. So
it reminds me of Sunwalker, right? The 4/5 taunt Divine Shield for 6. The new from like vanilla Hearthstone, like that's what this reminds me of. And I'm like, if I don't play Sunwalker, which like I'm guaranteed to have it, the one thing is Sunwalker doesn't attack. So if you've already got something on board, you can Pharaoh's Blessing and make it a Sunwalker. But I don't know. If that doesn't see play, I don't think this will.
I agree. Yeah, and yeah. Spike Rich Steve is so much better. We can't play it. We can play this in standard, that is. But yeah, I don't. Again, I randomly find it through other means, or begrudgingly take it in arena. Like that's where I'm playing Pharaoh's Blessing. I don't see myself intentionally putting this in a deck list.
Well, yeah, the thing that made Spike Ridge Siege so good was the Death Rattle, right? Like, it was great to put the stats on the first minion, but the fact that it had the stick around 2/6 taunt that popped out afterwards, that's what made it amazing. Like, yeah,
the risk of the high roll of them not having a silence or a polymorph was worth it. Whereas like this high roll isn't nearly as good. It's just, I don't know. I've been really optimistic about a lot of cards today. I'm going to dump on Pharaoh's Blessing. This card is bad.
Everybody clip that so that when it's amazing, you could be like, Garrett said it was bad.
Please clip it so that you waste your time, because it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Please waste your time, everybody. Let's move on to Priest. Got quite a few Priest cards to talk about today. So let's start with the one that was like just revealed. And I don't believe it was on the schedule, which like tilted me a bit, because I'm like, I'm good, I'm done, I can start making graphics. And they were like, Priest Quest. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not done.
Yeah, just stop it.
Yeah, it's called Activate the Obelisk. It's a 1 mana legendary priest quest. The quest is to restore 15 health. Your reward is Obelisk's Eye. Obelisk's Eye is a 2 mana activatable hero power. It reads restore 3 health. If you target a minion, also give it +3/+3. I think this is my favorite quest of the expansion. This is so cool.
Yeah,
this is so powerful.
It seems really, really good. So if you target a minion, even with full health, it still gets a buff, right?
So it was just revealed. I haven't seen any clarifications, but I would assume because it says target that would be the case.
That's what I thought too. But like, so that's good on its own, let alone healing for 3. It's just a better hero power.
Yeah, like, so you get 1 extra healing to your face for no mana cost, and also you have a potential minion buff, right? So
yeah,
it is interesting because the restore 3 health is definitely a different condition from if you target a minion. Like, there's no comma, that's a full-on period. So I would think it is 2 separate conditions. That like, first you attempt to restore health, and then secondly, if it's a minion that you're targeting, then you give it +3/+3.
Yeah, because this goes all the way back to, I mean, we all did it, right? In beta, you played your Northshire Cleric, you healed it, and you went, why didn't I draw a card?
Yeah, exactly.
But Northshire Cleric specifically reads healed, not target. So
right.
I'm guilty of that for sure. I was like, why didn't that work?
Yeah, it was one of the very first, like, oh, this is how Hearthstone works. Like... Yeah. So I would assume this would read if you heal a minion, also give it +3/+3. Well,
yeah,
that's where it gets murky though, because obviously they don't want it to like people think it's a passive where any healing would give them a +3/+3. But I don't know. They haven't seemed too concerned with that.
Well, yeah, but you could say if the minion is healed, also give it +3/+3. Or yeah,
or if this heals a minion.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something of that nature. Yeah, I would because it says target, like that seems so specific, so intentional. I'm going to assume that it doesn't matter if it's at full health, you still get the +3/+3 buff.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I'm going to have strong opinions on a future episode of The Angry Chicken.
But yeah, and so I feel like if you just look at like the quest test, like what does this actually ask me to do in order to complete this quest? Because we like, obviously this hero power is so strong, and no matter what point in the game you get it, it's going to be good for you as a priest. Because even if you are not a board centric priest, even if you're going some sort of control style or whatever, the fact that you can still make the choice to target your face or a minion and it just straight up is 3 health, like that just is a better priest hero power. So the condition on the quest being restore 15 health, which is generally the kind of thing that you're doing with priest anyway, regardless of the style. You're either healing your face if you're trying to do control, or you're healing the board. Like you're healing as a priest is what you do. So I don't think, regardless of what you're trying to do, regardless of what deck you're playing in priest, I don't think this is too big of an ask. Like you don't have to put death rattles in. You don't have to put battle cries in. Like you just do the thing your class is designed to do, and eventually you're going to get something better. This seems like just every deck will be quest priest now with some other win condition built in. Like,
I mean, 15 is a tall order just on your hero power alone. So I wouldn't go that crazy with it, but I'm looking at
I mean, like, even if you look at other variations of priest decks that are out there right now, like they have healing cards in them. Like, so it's not a big ask to just find a slot to basically upgrade your hero power at some point in the game. Like the quest doesn't have to be your main goal as a priest. It's just like, it's like a passive thing that's going to happen eventually, and it's good.
Yeah, I agree. Like your other turn 1 plays are Northshire Cleric. Like, I mean, you can just play this, and then throughout the game, you will get the quest reward, but it doesn't mean that your deck is a healing deck. It'll happen. If it happens, you have a sweet hero power now. As opposed to, one that doesn't really affect the board. Like you have one that's just good. So I think this card is awesome.
And you don't even have to, like, because I think it's just going to be great no matter when it happens during the game. This isn't even the kind of quest that you absolutely have to keep in your opening hand. Like there's going to be tons of matchups where sure, I throw this back and I'd rather have Crystallizer or Northshire or whatever. You could throw it back. You could hang on to it. You could play it on turn 2 or 3. Like this doesn't have to be a turn 1 play. Cause again, your deck isn't, and your win condition aren't very specifically built around completing this quest. This is just going to be a thing you're passively doing. Like Circle of Healing. Oh my God. You could maybe even complete this in one go with Circle of Healing.
Which I already want to do because I looked at Psychopomp and I'm like, Injured Blade Master, we're going to be friends again.
Yes.
Like it's, I'm really excited about Priest. I think Priest might be like the opposite of Paladin. So Vigil, if you're right, and they're just looking at Paladin being like, we're fine with you being bad. You were too good for too long. I think they're looking at Priest being like, yeah, we kind of let you flounder there for a little bit. You know what? Let's just give you a quest that works no matter what kind of archetype you want to play. Enjoy.
Yeah, it just seems like, good all around. Like there's never, I can't imagine there's a matchup where I ever have this and I'm like, I don't want to get the power from it. And I think it's a cool way that they're doing that this quest is, because like Joce was saying, other quests you have to build your deck specifically. You have to build battle cries, you have to build death rattles, you have to build taunts, you have to build things certain way. This, like, you could slot this into like any priest deck, like, I don't know. This just is an all-around home run for me. I could be wrong and I could eat my words later, but I think this card's great.
I'm really
You're going to be fine because your words are the same as mine. So
that's true. I was with you on Life Drinker from day one.
Yeah.
Man,
you could put Life Drinker in this deck.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Someone that's on the Joce's right bandwagon. All right, Vigil. Well, thank you for joining. We will not be invited back. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we all think this is really good. Probably the strongest quest. And we can move on to talk about the other priest legendary. High Priest Amet, 4 mana, 2/7 legendary priest minion that reads, whenever you summon a minion, set its health equal to this minion's. That's super freaking cool. So that means 7 health reborn minions, y'all. Are you getting your reborn minions back going 1 health isn't enough? Amet's got your back. Also 7 health resurrected minions if Amet comes off of a mass res, which people are making work right now in resurrect decks as we speak. I mean, it's not like the most popular archetype in the world, but there are resurrect priests out there and they're doing okay. The win rate isn't horrible.
You could divine spirit this, and then now you've got 14 health minions.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I was reading.
But it does go the other way too. So if they attack a bunch of stuff and then this has 1 health, then you're better to kill it off, right? Because you don't want all your minions to then, when you summon them, get 1 health. So you do have to pay attention, but this still seems so cool.
And Joce, I want can I get like paid overtime because I was reading competitive HS on my vacation, and a user by the name of J Factor listed all of these potential OTKs with Amet, and they all involve a boar.
Of course.
We still have
Maybe
boars.
Boar's going to be the next thing to be Hall of Famed because it seems like it just creates all kinds of crazy OTKs.
I
1 mana
cannot
charge.
Yeah, 1 mana charge.
Can't believe that card is still in the game. But if you have Amet, if you have two divine spirits, if you've got the boar and then you've got topsy turvy or inner fire, that is 28 damage on a charge minion.
Yeah.
This seems a whole lot because obviously APM Priest was a thing, but it was a very, very niche thing. It was not the kind of thing that a lot of people were doing, even though it was super powerful and could potentially just kill anybody with any health total because, I mean, it's right in the name. It took a lot of like very specific, very fast actions to complete. And this is like, you gotta, do 4 spells in a boar? Seems doable.
2 spells in a boar. You got like Divine Spirit twice.
Oh yeah, because I guess you don't have to cast both Topsy and Inner Fire. You can do 1 or the other. So
3 spells in a boar.
4 cards. You got to play 4 cards. And you get 28 damage.
That's going to be the sitcom of this show right now, where the Vigil, Joce, and me. It's 3 spells in a boar. We're going to rebrand the Angry Chicken. That's what it'll be called.
3 spells in a boar.
Love it.
Yeah, and that the list went on. The competitive HS started just running away with all of the potential OTK combos, and there's quite a few, and they are plausible. So, and that aside, like just take the OTK out of it. Like this is just a powerful effect.
Mm-hmm.
On a 4 mana minion that has 7 health, like 2 attack on 4. I'm not doing that much with it, but this thing has 7 health. It's sticky. It's going to stick around. Even if it takes damage, it's probably going to survive. I'll be able to heal it. I'll be able to give it more health through all kinds of trickery.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, like it has 7 health, and it's the kind of thing that if you put it in a deck, you're probably going to be running things like Blade Masters and heals and things like that, which then feeds into your super awesome buff the board and heal the board hero power, right? So I think I'm really glad that Priest is getting some things that feel a little bit more like tempo-y almost and viable, and like Priest has felt pretty bad. They've been absolutely not even underrepresented, just non-existent in competitive Hearthstone since the rotation. It was Res Priest with the goop thing. Never mind. Okay, it goops out of your deck. That's a more appropriate term for it. And with all the 1/1s.
Oh, Xerx's cloning gallery? Is that what it's called?
Cloning gallery. Thank you. Yes, cloning gallery Priest.
Goop thing,
Wow,
I'm like,
that was
this
a
isn't
blank and a
druid?
half.
What are you talking about?
I thought of goop, and then I remembered the sound it made when they came out, and I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Cloning gallery priest. Yeah.
Midnight Bomber in chat said 1-7 angry chickens. Do you think this is the rise of angry chickens? Is it time?
Go to hell, Immortal Prelate. It is the dawn of the angry chicken. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like boards are just better, right? And Sassy Waifu in the chat room was just like, please talk about Star Aligner, and you're right. This sure seems like a cute way to get some Star Aligner value. Mm-hmm. But also, like, what I can just OTK, I'm not sure how much I care about doing 7 damage. But like that's still like if the OTK doesn't work out or like just having a 7 damage board wipe is pretty solid. So, what a rad card.
Well, Star Aligner goes face too, right? So there's a little bit of face damage in there too.
Yes, yeah. It's all enemies. So that is very true. But God, Priest just looks so cool with this expansion. We're not even like done. There's still things to talk about. We've got Grand Mummy. I haven't talked about this card yet. It's a 2 mana, 1/2 rare priest minion. It has Reborn. It also has a death rattle that reads, give a random friendly minion +1/+1 and a fresh baked cookie.
Joce, were you laughing because the Grand Mummy is holding a baby mummy? Is that why you were laughing?
Yeah, so just this whole card where she's holding the baby mummy and she's got the other mummy by the hand. Like she just, oh my God, I don't know. This card.
Is this the cutest card of the expansion award?
I think it might be because, I mean, how do you top that? It's freaking adorable. Like all the mummy cards are pretty cute, but you can't really top Grand Mummy. Like,
I'll go to bat for Mermy for being slightly cuter art, but like the whole theme here is just so like grown cute.
Yeah.
This is on another level of cuteness.
Yep.
So it has been clarified. Gameplay engineer for Hearthstone, B. Krusco, in the subreddit, our official Hearthstone subreddit, did clarify that Grand Mummy cannot buff itself. So even though it does have Reborn and it has this give a random friendly minion +1/+1 off of the death rattle, the way that it sequences will not allow Grand Mummy to buff itself. And also, when Krusco laid this out, it seems like it won't buff any other Reborn minions that die from the same like action at the exact same time. Because the
kind of makes sense because like everything dies and then the death rattle of the +1/+1 would go off and then things would come back. Is how I would think of it. Like,
yeah. The timing sequence was laid out in the Reddit as follows. Krusco wrote that we loop through minions in play and find any that are dead. We move any dead minions to the graveyard. We execute their death rattle effects. We execute their Reborn effects. So the graveyard movement happens before anything, even a death rattle.
Yeah, fair enough. So. I think this looks great. And this is really freaking powerful because when the Reborn minions come back, the Reborn version, so the 1/1 is going to also have the death rattle tied to it, correct?
Yes,
so
100% correct.
You're getting, as long as you've got something else on the board, you're getting this like a 1/2 and then a 1/1 buff and then a 1/1 and a 1/1 buff for 2 mana. Like this is what I was talking about when we first heard about the Reborn keyword. The idea of a Reborn death rattle just seems so powerful. And the fact that this is an early game thing too, like, whew, man, Priest, thumbs up.
Yeah. Also, Joce, I don't know if you're like me, but like the one wild deck I have never deleted is my Quest Priest in Wild. And I'm just going to get that quest done so stupid fast with Grand Mummy. It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's 4 death rattle completions off of a single card slot in your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems good for sure.
Yeah. Again, a little kind of sketchy for res priests because you're going to be adding like a 1/2 to your res pool. But that's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world.
I don't know if you even play this in res priest. I think this like probably goes in something like more tempo-y. I don't like res priest is just so centered around what your death rattle pool is. Like whenever you're resing something, you want to know that it's going to be way more powerful than the cost of whatever it is that you use to resurrect it, right? So I don't think that you ever play this in a res anything deck. Yeah.
I don't know
Reborn
what.
and Death Rattle makes it probably the best of the crap that you could res, but you still don't want to res crap.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what priest this goes in. It's just a card that I think on its own is good. But I don't see like a current archetype that this just immediately goes in.
No, I think this is new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Let's talk about Embalming Ritual. It's a 1 mana common priest spell. It reads give a minion reborn. It's very simple. So it's got a bit of a ancestral spirit thing going on in the way that it functions. Of course, they're going to come back with 1 health versus the way ancestral spirit works. But that's not the worst downside in priest. I mean, you're healing things all the time in priest. You may want to because it might help you be finishing a quest.
Oh, is Reborn? Is Reborn? They come back damaged to 1 health.
Yes. I wasn't entirely sure because I hadn't gone back and watched. I couldn't remember because if you remember when they revealed Reborn, they had the video. And they did show the mummy and warrior that has Reborn going through the Reborn, and it comes back with a red #1, meaning it's damaged. So you can heal it back up after the Reborn.
Yeah. I, for some reason, thought it was like just a static. They just had 1 health. Like
I did too. And that's why I was sitting here. I'm like, I can't remember. I need to go. So I went back to that video, which I did not mind watching because it's highly entertaining. And so they come back damaged. So
wow. That completely changes this card for me. I think this card is awesome. Like to bring back anything and then heal it back up.
Room to heal, yeah, exactly. Room to heal
with your hero power that gives 3 health and +3/+3. It seems pretty good.
It's 1 freaking mana, which I think like anything else, like it would be questionably good, but like you can fit this anywhere. About to make a trade, that minion gonna die, give it Reborn. Mm-hmm. It's strong for sure. I like this card a lot. And certainly seems like, again, Res Priest is already out there. It has its passionate group. This is something I just want to find a place for in a Resurrection deck list.
Yeah, see, now I think this goes more into a Res Priest because if you're giving minions Reborn, you don't actually have to put more minions in, right? Like you're just bringing back more of the same of what you want in your deck anyway. So I think since you don't actually have to find a minion slot for this, so you're not actually going to be changing your res pool, you're just going to be, again, bringing things back over and over and over again. So yeah, I think this is great for Res Priest.
Oh my God, I just realized the art is a troll mummy resurrecting their mummy cat, and that's adorable.
Oh.
Yep. Bring back the kitties.
All right, one more priest card to talk about today. It's Wretched Reclaimer. It's a 3-mana, 3/3 rare priest minion with a battle cry that reads, destroy a friendly minion, then return it to life with full health.
Yeah.
Wow.
Am I just switching to priest? And am I going to have like 3 different archetypes?
Everyone's going to switch to priest.
I'm going to switch to priest, but I'm also going to play 3 different archetypes on the regular, but I'm never going to switch away from priest. I think that's what's going to happen here. This is a cool card. I mean, it's a 3/3 for 3, so solid stats. Not blowing my mind, but that's a really cool battle cry in priest.
Mm-hmm. So this is the priest version of the 3-mana 3/3s that we were talking about. How each of the evil classes seem to be getting a very powerful 3-mana 3/3, and the priest minion does not disappoint at all. This card is so powerful, and I want to know what the heroes are going to get to kind of counteract this League of Evil, because they just seem so powerful. All of these 3-mana 3/3s, like, this is insane. Destroy a friendly minion and bring it back to life with full health. You're already going to want to be playing things like Injured Blade Master, because you're going to want the space to heal things as soon as possible if you're trying to do quest things. Then on top of that, you can get Injured Blade Master out, you can run it into something, then you Wretched Reclaimer, and then all of a sudden you've got a 4/7 again. Like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
You can like start a machine gun of Grand Mummy death rattles with this. 2 Grand Mummies weren't good enough. You get like 3 with this effect. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Gross. It's gross.
Are any of the 3-mana 3/3s bad? Or are they all?
No, they're all so powerful.
They all, like, everyone I've seen has been like, this card is just good. Wow.
I think so. We've now seen the Warlock, the Warrior, the Shaman, the Priest. Have we seen the 5th one yet? I don't think we have.
That would be Rogue, correct? No, we have not seen a 3-mana 3/3 for Rogue.
Yeah, so like, unless the Rogue one is like 3-mana 3/3 kill your hero, like, these 3-mana 3/3s are ridiculous.
Yeah, it's strong. It's strong for sure. Priest can.
So if you hit something with Reborn, it comes back with the Reborn tag, and then the Reborn minion comes back too, right?
Yeah, but only, I think, if you're giving a minion Reborn with the Embalming Ritual, I don't think that it would work the same as reborn the keyword on the card.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it would be like the first minion would have the reborn buff on it, that then the second minion would just be whatever the first minion was, versus like the Grand Mummy, for example. Both iterations, the first minion you play as well as the token it generates, both have the reborn keyword on it. So if you were to Wretched Reclaimer on the Grand Mummy token, then you would get like an original like 1/2 Grand Mummy again.
But because the game keeps track of the second reborn minion, if something inherently has reborn, let's just use Grand Mummy as an example. What happens if I Wretched Reclaimer my second Grand Mummy? Does that new version it brings back start over again?
Still has reborn again. I think that you'd get another damaged 1/1.
My brain hurts.
Yeah, it's definitely a question for science, but
yeah,
it's a disguised toast question.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out very quickly.
Yeah.
Save us disguised toast. Save us. This is another last minute card too, so I did my best to find clarifications today, but Wretched Reclaimer and Activate the Obelisk were pretty last minute releases today. Let's keep it going right into Rogue, since you mentioned them and their lack of a 3-mana 3/3 at least yet. But there's two Rogue cards we haven't seen yet. Well, one's a common and one is their quest. We still haven't seen their quest. But
yeah, so I guess the common might be their 3/3 then.
Maybe, yeah,
maybe.
But we did see a really cool new spell called Shadow of Death. It is a 4-mana epic rogue spell. It reads, choose a minion, shuffle 3 shadows into your deck that summon a copy when drawn. So whatever you targeted with Shadow of Death, it's now throwing essentially copies of it into your deck that when you draw them, it just summons them to the board. And like the immediate downside to this, I saw it, I was like, oh, well, you don't get a 4/4 immediately like you do with Valdor's Strider. So I don't like this card as much. And then again, I'm perusing freaking competitive HS and all the OTK nut jobs come out of the woodwork. And I'm like, oh, hadn't thought of that. And yeah, there's potentially some really scary things that you can do with Shadow of Death and Leroy Jenkins. It's not the boar's fault this time, everybody. It's that other charge minion we never forget about.
Wow, so, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, y'all, Myra's
Leroy is nasty.
Yeah, Myra's Unstable Element is not going anywhere, which means we as rogues will still be able to, on purpose, get rid of our deck. Which means if you have this in hand and you have Leroy Jenkins in hand, specifically maybe a Leroy Jenkins you discounted the 3 mana with a bounce back effect like a Waggle Pick or a Shadow Step.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that in the same turn you could Myra's Leroy, Shadow of Death, your 3-mana Leroy, and then Shiv, and the only thing left in your deck will be copies of Leroy that auto, and then you just rapid fire 4 Leroys on board.
Hey, I've seen much more convoluted combos than that.
Yes,
so that's definitely a thing that can happen for sure.
Yeah, and there's other ways you could make it happen. You could prep out the Shiv if you weren't able to discount your Leroy. You could Novice Engineer. You would miss out on the 1 damage from the Shiv, but that would still be another way that you could start the Leroy chain with this particular combo. That seems really plausible. If there's more than one way to pull it off, this card scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, this seems extraordinarily powerful. Like, again, and going back to just the Hall of Fame conversation in general, is I kind of expect them at some point, because charge becomes so problematic and seems to enable a lot of these combos that you don't necessarily have to work too hard for. I would be surprised if we didn't see like pretty much everything with charge just Hall of Famed, like board Leroy, just, everybody get out of here. We rush now. Yeah, cause we haven't seen the creation. Yeah, we rush now. I haven't seen them create a new charge minion in a long time.
I wouldn't expect to see it. No, and that's not here nor there. They haven't announced that they're doing it yet. So I'm going to talk about this card in a world where Leroy is the thing.
Oh no, 100%. I'm just saying, like, because we've talked now twice about cards that have enabled crazy, almost OTK, if not OTK combos because of these vanilla Hearthstone charge minions, that maybe this is a time to get rid of charge.
I'm really starting to think that just somebody on the team is just a big Warrior fan, and they're like, I don't want to nerf bombs. I don't want to nerf boom. Let's just add crazier things to this that we'll have to nerf pretty early on to jangle the keys, because I just want to keep my Warrior the same way. That's my tinfoil hat theory.
So there's that chat room saying there's been no charge minion since Frozen Throne, and then it was Chill Blade Champion, which I don't ever really remember seeing. But was Chill Blade Champion class specific?
That was Paladin.
Oh no, it was the little gnome dude.
Yeah, little gnome Death Knight with the pink hair for Paladin. It's fantastic card art if you don't remember it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was, again, that was very class specific. So they could, if you make things class specific, you can much more easily design around them, right? Because then you only have to watch your neutrals and your class cards. You don't have to watch the entire game. So
right. Yeah, Leroy and Boar are a threat all the time because any class can use them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I feel like although Tundra Rhino does a similar thing in Hunter because it gives everything charge, it's still, or I guess it gives your beast charge. It's got a high enough mana cost that it's not as problematic most of the time, but anyways.
And it's only beast. So yeah, all of these things, these are extra factors. It's conditional. You have more control over
Getting
it.
A little bit off topic, but yeah, I think.
No, I mean, I think it's a perfectly good topic because that's I think the scariest thing about this card is the OTK potential with Leroy Jenkins, which 100% we end up in Charge Discussion Town, which is not as interesting as Flavor Town. But it's but even that aside, like if the OTK ends up being way too good and they address it, this is still a really interesting card because it doesn't say it has to be your minion. You can do some really goofy stuff. You can steal your opponent's minions. There's other ways to flex with this card. It gives you so much flex. The chat room's talking about Ziliax, and if you need to just survive, the idea of being able to, clone a Ziliax essentially is really strong. I don't know how good that is. Like, I don't know how you win that game, because if you Myras and all you've got left is Ziliaxes, I'm not really sure how you're actually going to win. You're certainly going to die slower. But
you don't, I mean, for the OTK, you have to Myras ahead of time, right? But for any other minion, if you're looking to just, survive longer or, whatever your game plan happens to be, I mean, Pogos, why not Pogos? Like,
yeah, Pogos for sure. Yeah. It's just that without Myras, you're not guaranteeing you're going to find that card again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But just like if you need to shore up something that your deck does because of your current matchup, this card is flexible enough to do that.
Mm-hmm. And what really stinks about, playing Pogos is actually having to play them.
Yeah, true. Well, because I guess this summons a copy, right? But then the played ones afterwards, do they activate off of summoned Pogos?
Oh, wait, no, that would be a Battle Cry, so it wouldn't actually get the buff.
Yeah, they won't get the buff, but...
Yeah, so never mind, this wouldn't work for Pogos.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Battle Cry, so never mind. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, every Pogo Opera you played this game, so...
Oh, you played. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was played or died, so I thought that it was...
Yeah.
That even though they wouldn't get the buff... they would die and then buff the ones later that you played. But no, you're right. It's, yeah. My bad.
Yeah, that's all right.
I just want Pogo Hoppers to be everywhere because they're amazing. They have like one of the best sounds in the game. So more Pogos, please.
Jocelyn Moffat still has a grudge against Q-Block, but for some reason doesn't mind losing the Pogo Hopper.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Boy.
I don't hate Pogo Hopper until I'm like, oh, I got this under control, until they Ziliax their like 15-15 Pogo, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, not only did they heal, they healed instantly, I have to now deal with this. It's
sorry.
That's okay.
It sounds like this is a very personal topic for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that card triggers me to no end. I'm sure you can ask anyone from my stream, and that they're going to be like, yep, we saw the time he got wrecked by a Ziliax Pogo Hopper. I was like, oh, I got this game in the bag. Like, cool. Like, this is the game I need to get to rank 5, back into Dad Legend. Going to be sweet. And then it's like, I got him on the ropes. Next turn I win. Top deck Ziliax into Pogo Rogue. I'm like, oh man, I just lose.
So glad that I'm not the only person that still, from time to time, forgets that Ziliax is a card.
All the time.
A magnetic card, right?
You can taste the victory. You can taste it, and then Ziliax comes down.
It's not that I forget about Ziliax. It's that I forget that Pogo Hopper is a mech.
Mm.
I'm like, they can't come back from this. I just win the game. Like next turn, I win the game. Like I can deal with whatever they do, and then they magnetize it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that it's a mech. Yeah.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry. I'll stop talking about Pogo Hoppers. You'll never hear about the Fun Angry Chicken again.
That's all right.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about Pharaoh Cat. I'm trying to talk about art less because we have so many things to talk about, but damn it, I love the art for this card.
This might be my favorite.
Pharaoh Cat is a 1-mana 1/2 common rogue beast. So if we Joce, you remember when we did the interview with Kosak and Danae, and I asked them how many metal things do you strap onto a beast before it becomes a mech? I'm curious how much decay has to take place before it's no longer a beast.
Yeah, and then it's like a skeleton or something.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a 1-mana 1/2 common rogue beast. There's a battle cry that reads, add a random reborn minion to your hand. This is just a good card. This is in Rogue. It's 1 mana. It's a combo enabler. It's a solid turn 1 play, and it has good high roll potential. We've seen a lot more reborn minions, and a lot of them are in neutral, and a lot of them aren't particularly great, but they're not total trash tier. So
I think because the reborn minions do, like, they're reborn, they come back again when they die, makes them inherently okay. Yes. But the reborn pool isn't anything to write home about. But I'm kind of on the fence about this because I want this card to see play because it's adorable, but I don't know if, like, I don't even know if reborn, like, fits into what Rogue is potentially trying to do. I feel like if that said, like, a random card from another class, like, then that fits into what Rogue is already doing. But
it might. When I was talking about high rolling, that's exactly where my brain went, because the class reborn minions are fairly strong. Even, we talked about the Paladin one earlier, the Micro Mummy, which we're not stoked about, but it's not a bad card. That's still solid. And gives you that rogue synergy that you're talking about. Like, there's a chance this is going to discount your Vendetta if that's what you're looking for. It's not guaranteed, but it's still a 1/2 for 1 that triggers your combos and might trigger your Vendetta.
I don't know, Vigil, what do you think about the little kitty?
I think it's good for combo potentials. I think getting the reborn minion off it, the random reborn, is whatever. Like, it's another card in your hand. I think it's a good combo enabler, and yeah, it's a good turn 1 play. It's something to do if, like, you're like, okay, I can put this combo later. Like, I just need something out there. It's okay. I don't think it's like a must go in every Rogue deck, but it's cool. But I do have a question for Garrett. I have an art question for Garrett.
Okay.
Two questions. One, is Pharaoh Cat, is the cat the Grand Mummy's cat?
Oh.
And 2, is Embalming Ritual that cat? Is that the art?
I'm pretty sure that's that cat. They both have that reborn green eye color.
All right, so my issue is Embalming Ritual is drawn in a way where the arm of the cat obscures the beautiful golden necklace that it is wearing. So I cannot confirm beyond the shadow of a doubt that is indeed the same cat. Also, if it is Grand Mummy, she might be a crazy cat lady. She may have more than one cat. So maybe Embalming Ritual is one of those cats. And the nice troll priestess lady is resurrecting Grand Mummy's cats for her.
I like that.
Team 5, give me a job, because I can write ridiculous lore with the best of them.
I mean, they did say that they wanted to tell a story this expansion, so...
Listen, my dream job is sitting around a Team 5 boardroom just waxing the most insane lore across from Dave Kosak. Like, if I get paid to do that, I'm moving to California in a heartbeat.
I'm curious as to what the flavor text on the Grand Mummy is. I really want to know what that is, because it's going to be something amazing.
That's always such a fun part of the expansion, right? Is when the patch finally gets in and you can see all the flavor text.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Pharaoh Cat. I don't think it's auto-include, but I think it's a strong card that's going to make its way into a deck or two for sure. Final rogue card today. It's another kind of last-minute reveal today. Was the Saket Sapper. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's a 4-mana 4/4 rare rogue pirate with a death rattle that reads, return a random enemy minion to your opponent's hand. So death rattle, random
sap. Yeah.
Yeah. I almost said
pirate
shadow
too.
sap, caught myself. Pirate too. Yeah,
It is
you're
a
right.
pirate, yeah.
Pirate is an important tribe in Rogue. Maybe not as much at the moment, but historically.
So because this is a death rattle and not a battle cry, I think if it's a battle cry, it would be like auto include, super powerful. Oh my God. But because it's a death rattle, your opponent has the ability to potentially play around it. So that makes it not as good, I think. But it's still a 4-mana 4/4, which isn't terrible. So
I think it's interesting in this meta just because of Hook Tusk. Like, they can only play around it so much because if Hook Tusk is bringing it out and giving it rush, then
yeah, true.
you already know what the board is like when you're doing that because it's off of a battle cry. So it's that alone makes it interesting to me. But yeah, I'm not losing my mind over this.
I still think it's great because Sap is an amazing card, right? So getting that built into a body, probably going to be good. But again, like you have to play it in a way that you can have more control than your opponent. So it's not as OP and auto include as it potentially could have been, which I think is probably good.
Although Schmorier in the chat room is bringing up, you can also give it rush with Goblin Lackeys, which completely didn't. I spaced on that. Yeah, you're right. So there's that as well.
Rogue is one of the classes that's doing the most with lackeys right now.
Absolutely.
I think Warlock will probably overtake them once the new expansion comes out, but right now Rogue is, because of Togwaggle, they're all over lackeys.
Yeah. Plus there was the
but it's still random, right?
You guys talked about Anka last week, right?
Yes.
So that's the legendary, and its battle cry changes each death rattle minion that's in your hand to a 1/1 that costs 1.
Yeah.
So that's an upside. Obviously, you're not like building around it. It's a legendary. It's a one of, you can't guarantee that your game plan is going to work out, but that's another boon for sure. It's interesting. Man, most of the cards
definitely
today,
an interesting card.
most of the cards today outside of Paladin, I'm looking at going, there's something here. And even and Druid too. Druid is like, Anubis at Defender is good, but I don't know. I still think we're just going to be playing token. In Druid, and then Overflow is good, but I have no idea if there's actually an archetype that can make use of it. So Druid and Paladin, not so sure, but everything else, freaking Mage Seeker, man.
That Mage Seeker's so good.
Very good. Yeah, so it's a powerful death rattle for sure, with some obvious downsides. We mentioned it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it gets a spot right out the get go, but this kind of card I'm really hesitant to discount. Well,
Agreed.
let's talk Warlock, starting with Dark Pharaoh Takan. It's a 5-mana 4/4 legendary Warlock minion, and reads has a battle cry that reads, for the rest of the game, your lackeys are 4/4. That's powerful.
Vigil is not a fan.
I'm getting so many flashbacks to Quest Rogue being like, oh,
I was thinking the same thing.
All right. So I don't. It's scary for sure. I read this and I made the exact same noise, but you can't make your whole deck isn't lackeys. The Quest Rogue, any minion you played got the benefit of the quest.
that's true.
For Warlock, we have 2 reveals left, and they're both commons, and that's it. We the only lackey, the like class specific lackey generation that they have is Evil Genius, which granted is good. It is one of the better lackey generators in the game. But as of right now, it's looking like that's going to be all they have on top of Cable Rat, which is a neutral. So I don't know. Like, this actually seems fair with that in mind, because you can only make so many lackeys, and you don't really want to hoard them, right? Like, if your game plan is just wait until past turn 5 when I can pay 1 mana for a 4/4 that has a okay battle cry, but can actually hit you in the face the turn I play it. It's not as scary as something like Boars out of a Quest Rogue.
Mm-hmm. Have we seen all the Warlock cards? I know we're close because I think we've seen 8 altogether.
We have 2 more in their commons.
Okay. Yeah, so I know that right now we only have Evil Genius, but I'm really wondering if there's going to be another lackey generator, because we've seen now, things that interact with your lackeys, things that destroy lackeys to do something powerful. I'm wondering if there's going to be some other way for Warlocks to make them.
You're talking about an Evil Recruiter, right? Because that summons a 5/5 if you destroy a lackey, which is still good. Like, I think if Takan creates an archetype, I think it runs Evil Recruiter. I've seen some people talking like, oh, it doesn't help you. Yeah, but it's not a bad thing. A 5/5 is bigger than a 4/4. At the end of the day, like, that's still fine. Yeah. I think the deck that runs Takan
I think you try to run Recruiter early game, right? So you try to destroy the lackeys while they're still 1/1s. But even then, like, you could make a trade in with a 4/4 lackey as long as it remains with 1 health. Then you kill it and make it a 5/5.
Yeah, it's an effective heal that gives it more health and more 1 more health and 1 more attack on the other side of it. Yeah, totally. It's just that I don't know if there's enough lackey generation. To make this worth it. And the Evil Recruiter is like the only other like tied in like exact synergy I can think of, and that's a new card coming in with this expansion. So there's only 2 more spots. I don't know.
I'm sure we're gonna get a generation. Like, we have to.
I think so as well.
For this much lackey synergy, I think that there has to be a way.
Yeah. Yeah, but a cool card nonetheless. A little understated for the cost, but for the rest of your game, that's powerful. I don't know. I'm trepidatious on this one.
I think it's going to be good. I think we're going to see like Lackey Warlock, which is going to play zoo-ish.
Yeah,
and I think that's okay. Like, it's a new twist on an old archetype. Mm-hmm. Warlock's back, huzzah.
I'm not sure if this is the reason they're back. But Disease Vulture is another new Warlock card that's been revealed. It's a 4-mana, 3/5 Epic Warlock Beast. And it reads, after your hero takes damage on your turn, summon a random 3-cost minion. This just seems good.
I agree. Especially over in Wild, there's a whole lot of stuff that you're doing over there where you're damaging your hero. And I mean, there's just so many ways to do it now, to damage your hero. And then, I mean, it activates off your hero power. And this just
even right now, like, it's just find a slot for this in your Zoolock deck and play Crystallizer and play Flame Imp.
Oh yeah, Crystallizer, Flame Imp, like all of those. There's just
yeah, that card seems really good.
Yeah,
like there's just,
which I feel like I've said for most of the Warlock cards so far. Like, I don't know, there might have been one where I was like, this is just bad, but everything else seems to just be like, yep, this is good. Yep, this is good. Yep, this is good.
Yeah, Disease Vulture. This is just a very good card. Like, this is what I would put up as an example of like a A+ card in Hearthstone. This doesn't ask really anything of you because you're a Warlock and you can just damage yourself at will for 2 mana. Oh, and there's two popular 1-mana minions playable in Standard right now that are not legendary, so you can have 4 slots in your deck dedicated to them, so you can get value out of this on turn 5 or on turn 4 with a coin.
There's also that new Warlock card too, right? That kills something and then you take damage.
Yeah, Rift Cleaver. Yeah, Rift Cleaver.
Yeah, that has the obliterate built in. Yeah.
You kill something and you summon a 3/3. That just seems good.
Yeah, the Disease Vulture just seems so interesting to me because I'm like, you're right. Thank you for reminding me of that. I almost completely forgot because shows are going long. But Vulture just seems like no brainer in Zoo, but it also seems like it opens up a pathway for a mid range, a kind of more control style Warlock like we've seen in the past, alongside something like Rift Cleaver. So, I love this card. This card's really freaking good. Let's talk about Plague of Flames, which could have just been called Fire. It's a 1 mana rare warlock spell that reads, destroy all your minions. For each one, destroy a random enemy minion. That's a powerful effect. I think control decks are going to want this. I don't know if control decks are going to want to run token generation.
Yeah, and so this is a really interesting card because obviously it's super powerful. And if you somehow have a board full of like little 1/1 lackeys and imps and stuff, and then your opponent is, I don't know, making 8/8 giants and 7/8 taunts, then that's an amazing trade for 1 mana. Not to mention, because it's so cheap, you still retain initiative, right? So you can still have more of a turn to play after you play the Plague of Flames. So, I mean, you're totally wiping your board. That's a thing that always happens. But most of the time, you're going to wipe your opponent's board too if you're playing this card correctly. And then you have the initiative to play the minions again after that. So I think this is a really powerful removal card, as long as you're not sitting on a board of really good minions yourself. Like, you have to have all those little like token impy lackey things to make this really good.
Yeah. And I mean, it's another one of those cases too, where it's just like, oh no, I have too many powerful minions on board. You're probably okay in that scenario. It's probably not the end of the world. And if it is, it means your opponent has more powerful minions. So you may just deploy this anyway.
Yeah. It might be a good trade anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the ultimate like comeback card. Like it's unplayable if you're ahead, but if you're behind, it seems pretty good.
Yeah. But again, if one of those two commons is solid minion or solid lackey generation, and we've got Takan, Plague of Flames goes in that deck.
Yeah.
It's a like early to mid game removal before your Takan comes on board and buffs your lackeys. I mean, again though, I don't know. I don't think you're going to be able to depend on Takan. I think it'll be a nice bonus when it happens, but I don't think you can depend on it to win the game. But yeah, there's a lot. This is a powerful card. You're right. There's so many 1 mana cards we're talking about today where we're just looking at these like, wow, there's a lot you can get done there because of that 1 mana.
Yep.
It really opens up the field for sure. So, I saw Mechathune being mentioned alongside this, and I also saw it being mentioned, talked about around Druid stuff. But Druid has problems with the board. It doesn't have Spreading Plague anymore, so Mechathune is harder. And Warlock is in a similar boat. It doesn't have the same healing capabilities it used to have back when it had Spellstone. So I don't know. I feel like one of these Mechathune people are
Dark Pact, suck hero power.
One of these Mechathune theories I think is going to end up being right, but they all still look kind of difficult to pull off right now.
I'm totally okay with a Mechathune deck that is powerful as long as it's like one class that's doing it and not all classes that are doing it, and it's still difficult to pilot. I don't ever want any kind of auto death deck to also be super easy to play.
So we all talked about like our fever dreams, like what really triggers us. Mechathune is me. Like, I don't like losing to Mechathune, so I hope it doesn't come back. Honestly, right now, Warrior is really it for me. But
yeah,
Mechathune, it's still there. It's still something to be concerned about. Let's move on to Warrior. We have a ton of Warrior stuff to cover. We finally got to see their quest. It's called Hack the System. It's a 1 mana legendary warrior quest. You have to attack 5 times with your hero. You will then be rewarded with Anrefet's Core. And what Anrefet's Core is a 2 mana hero power. It reads, summon a 4/3 golem after your hero attacks. Refresh this. So you could summon more than one 4/3 golem as long as you have enough mana and you have the capability of attacking with your hero.
Now, I have a question because I didn't actually see this reveal, so I'm not 100% sure on this, but does this naturally refresh every turn as well? Like, you don't have to attack with your hero to refresh it?
That question never even entered my mind because that would be so terrible if that was the way it worked.
I'm like, maybe they just wanted to give warriors something really super terrible. Okay, Schmear in the chat room is saying it refreshes each turn. Okay, that was my only question because it had like a refresh condition. So I wasn't 100% sure because of the nature of Hearthstone.
Boy, that would be
That would be terrible. I know, which I'm just like, yes, maybe they just want Warrior to be terrible. So I'm on board with this.
I don't think you're nuts, Joce. Like, I totally get how you arrived at that question, but yeah, that would be horrendous.
Yeah, I see that too, but yeah, I think it's more like the Anduin hero power. Like,
Yeah.
you just do it and then you can refresh it, but it auto comes back every single turn.
Yeah.
I mean, really, guys, hack the system should read quest doesn't matter, reward, boom, still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, boom is really good, man. Like, I think it's far and away the best card in the game. Like,
Boom, yeah, oh my god, I just smacked my microphone out of anger. I can't believe it's still in the game. Like, it hasn't been touched. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm puzzled entirely.
And it always feels like they get exactly what they need every turn too. You're like, all right, I got him dead, and then it flips to the armor, and you're like, oh my god. And they're like, all right, they have no cards in hand, and then they're like, oh, generate a mech with rush. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've certainly beaten a warrior or two after they boomed, but I definitely have lost to more than I've beaten. Yeah. So that aside,
I'm just glad that this 4/3 golem that comes out of it isn't anything that synergizes with anything. It's just a straight up vanilla 4/3 thing. It's not a mech. It's not a nothing. It's just
yeah.
just 4/3.
Yep.
This is cool. It's just that I don't see any universe where you pay any attention to it. This is I don't know why you would play this card right now.
Well, could you? I'm not in the current meta. I don't think this has a place, but I think you could trigger it pretty fast with the overkill card that lets you attack again, right?
Mm.
I don't.
Salt Rays.
Salt Rays.
Yeah, 6 mana 4/4 overkill attack again. Yeah.
Yeah, like you could get what four in one turn. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
pretty
I mean,
cool.
you're going to have to sack some health, but you're also a warrior,
Yeah.
so it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
I think this is a supremely cool quest. Like, attack 5 times. I love the idea of building a warrior deck around this. Again, though, we just live in a world with Dr. Boom. That's a way better hero power. So why would you play this? So,
I wonder if this is the kind of thing that we're just going to see play next year. Like, next year,
I'm really excited.
Will be a thing.
It sounds trolling, but I mean it legitimately when I say I'm really excited about this quest next year. So with that in mind, let's talk about Livewire Lance, which I think is a cool card. It's a 3 mana, 2 attack, 2 durability, epic warrior weapon, and it reads after your hero attacks, add a lackey to your hand. Warrior definitely got the short end of the stick as far as lackey generation was concerned. With the first expansion of the year, Improved Morale is not a good card. That's basically no play, and that was how they made their lackey. So here we have now not the worst weapon in the world to generate some lackeys. And if you can add more durability to it, which warriors have the potential to do, you can get even more lackeys out of it. So I think this is something that I would definitely consider throwing in my Hack the System deck if it was 2020.
Yeah, and I mean, we might also see Improved Morale see a little bit more play, I think. We talked about this last week with the Bloodsworn Mercenary, where you get to choose a copy or choose a friendly minion and summon a copy of it. So that's the warrior 3 mana 3/3. Maybe Improved Morale goes in that deck because it seems kind of like tempo-y and cool. And it seems like Hearthstone is doing everything they possibly can to push people into playing a different type of warrior other than Bomb Warrior. But none of these other iterations of warrior, like hand buff taunt or lackey tempo weapon or, any of these potential warrior archetypes seem like they're ever going to topple boom and bombs. So I don't know. There's stuff, but I don't know if there's enough stuff to just not play bomb.
Warrior's just very sorted out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're giving you other ways to play warrior, but then if you want to win, you just play bomb warrior.
Yeah. They're doing everything they possibly can that isn't nerf boom.
Which I hope
nerf
the honest
bomb.
listeners at home, I feel like we're not always the best of reminding you all that you could just play a deck because it's fun. Don't let your memes be dreams, okay?
Yeah.
Now you're just being crazy, Garrett.
And I think Livewire Lance is really cool. I think Hack the System is a super cool design for a quest. But if you want to climb, let's face it, you're not going to be playing these cards. So, and then Plague of Wrath has a similar issue, but for different culprits. It's another new card. It's a 5-mana warrior, rare warrior spell that reads Destroy all damaged minions. Now, that is a powerful effect, but we also have Brawl.
Yeah, Brawl's
And
just straight up better.
I can just Brawl without having to have anything damaged, and one thing gets left behind, then that's fine, because it's not a potentially dead card if I draw it.
Yep.
So.
And I mean, there's ways to activate this, but that's kind of the problem, right? Is it like, yeah, you could play Whirlwind and then this, but why wouldn't you just play one card, which is Brawl?
Yeah. I gotta say, podcast listeners, you really miss out by not being in the chat, because the chat is hilarious today. I mentioned fun decks and I get no Garrett and a bunch of sideways glances. Twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Come join us live, folks.
Yeah,
it's a good time. You meet some fun folks. And then we've got some more warrior cards to talk about. Tomb Warden, a card that I wonder why exists. It's an 8-mana, 3/6 rare warrior mech. It has taunt and a battle cry that reads summon a copy of this minion. It's already a big taunt. It can be made even bigger with Armadillo and Into the Fray. I'm going to go ahead and also talk about Into the Fray because we haven't talked about it yet, and it's just hard not to want to talk about all of these taunt things at the same time. Into the Fray is a 1-mana rare warrior spell that reads give all taunt minions in your hand +2/+2. Y'all talked about Armadillo last week, and I hope you all went to youtube.com/AMoveTV and watched our Armadillo interview with Dave Kosak and Mike Dene. We also talked about other things other than Armadillo, so go over there and hear the devs' thoughts on Uldum and this entire standard year in general. That's right, plugging my own stuff.
Well, that's where they teased the idea of a reborn Death Rattle minion, and I was like, no, it's too much, too powerful. Get out of here. Too
powerful, yeah. So Tomb Warden, there's multiple ways now to buff your Tomb Warden, and you're going to get 2 of them already. So this is a big taunt already. It can get buffed. I'm getting a Veclor vibe, by the way, a card I haven't thought about in a while.
I was just going to say that. This gives me Twin Emperor vibes so much.
If you weren't around for the Cthulhu days, everybody, it was a 7-mana 4/6 taunt that summoned another 4/6 taunt if your Cthulhu had 10 attack. It saw a ton of play in Cthulhu decks.
Yeah, and it was fairly easy to get this 7-mana 4/6 on curve and get the duplicate because the Cthulhu buffing minions were fairly decent just to play on curve. Mm-hmm. So that they all synergized really well together. So obviously this is a 3/6 because Veclor was super, super powerful. So they've kind of learned a little bit. They've made this a little bit more expensive and a little bit less attack, but because of all the taunt buffing stuff you can do, Tomb Warden to me seems really, really good if you're going to be playing a taunt buffing warrior. Again, that's a big if, but I'm going to stop saying that because
Vigil, you seem like a reasonable man. I need you to talk me off a warrior ledge here. Why does this have a mech tag?
Oh my gosh, I was just going to talk about that. The fact that it's 8 mana too. So you can discover this from the Dr. Boom Hero Power, get a 3/6, duplicate it, that can both rush right away with taunt.
Oh my god, I forgot about the rush.
Yeah, so it's a mech.
I can't decide what's worse, this not being a mech and warriors finding Omega Devastators at the current rate that they are, or this being a mech and maybe they find Omega Devastator a little less, but I have to deal with 2 rushing 3/6s.
It really does feel like they get Omega Devastator every single time, right? It's not just me. It feels like, discover Omega Devastator.
I'm allowing, because you're using the term feel, I'm allowing it because obviously they don't. But yeah, sure as hell, you remember it. You remember every time they get that Omega Devastator. Yeah, this is... I don't know how I feel about that. I like this card a lot, but I'm I'm shell shook from just the Warrior's existence in the game as we know it right now. So I'm a little afraid of this. But again, I'm almost chalking it up as a wash in my own head because I'm I don't know, this is really annoying, but so is Omega Devastators, and this is gonna help to loot the pool. So I guess whatever. I'm so salty about Warrior, everyone.
No, it's a good card. Yeah, it's a good design. already annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just sitting here going, they've got to do something about Boom, right? They've got to do something about Boom before this expansion hits. But I would have thought they would have already done something. So I'm like, I don't know. I guess this is just how we're going to start this expansion.
They're watching it. Don't worry.
Got my eye on it, Joss. I got my eye on it. There's one more taunt card I want to talk about. It's Frightened Flunky. It's a 2-mana 2/2 common warrior Shaggy. It has taunt and a battle cry that reads discover a taunt minion. There's not a ton of warrior taunt minions, so you're going to find a lot of other flunkies and a lot of tomb wardens off of your flunky here, which I think is kind of cool. And also with Into the Fray, like, again, I'm sitting here going, Taunt Warrior, like in standard, looks like a fun deck. I want to play around with this. Again, I don't think it's going to be better than the current archetypes that are around, but let's be honest, there's a very good chance that Warrior's not going to stay the same forever.
Well, and I think, like, we haven't mentioned it too much this episode, but I do think that these all are very good additions to Wild Taunt Warrior. We talked about how, like, you can potentially make it a odd deck, but you don't have to. And I think that, things like the Flunky and the Tomb Warden are really good arguments for, alongside with the Armadillo, obviously, are really good arguments for not having that odd restriction on your Taunt Warrior. I think that these are really potentially powerful cards to put into that mix. And then the Sulfurous or Sulfuron, whatever, the weapon and rag hero power combo off of that old quest, they're so good. So I think that these will absolutely 100% see play in Wild. I hope that they're enough for standard play, because I love this card. 2-mana 2/2 that discovers a taunt minion, like Stonehill Defender, a 1/4, got all kinds of play for 1 more mana. I think that this is great.
Yeah, I mean, this is way easier to kill than Stonehill Defender, but I'm okay with it because you're discovering from a limited pool, which I always like.
It comes out earlier too, right? So
yes, yeah, absolutely.
2 health on turn 2 versus 4 health on turn 3. Like, those are health values that are good for the point in the game when they come out, right? Yes.
If nothing else, it's curve health. You have a high chance to just help your curve if you're sitting there with an awkward hand. So I also wanted to mention a neutral here because of the taunt tribe, or, well, not tribe, but the taunt synergies that we're currently kind of talking about, which is Infested Goblin. It's a 3-mana 2/3 rare neutral minion. It has taunt. It also has a death rattle that adds 2 1/1 scarabs with taunt to your hand. I think this is one of the best neutrals we've seen from this expansion so far.
Yeah, seems awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like it, and again, want Taunt Warrior to be a thing so I can play my
and I mean, like, if you're like, when you're doing your mulligan, you're looking for your low cost minions on curve and stuff, right? So you're probably going to want to do Into the Fray on turn 1, and then you could potentially have a 4/4 on turn 2, and then 4/5 on turn 3. Like, you can curve out incredibly strongly with the start of just these 3 minions, the 1, 2, 3 of the Into the Fray, Frightened Flunky, and then Infested Goblin. That's some serious powerful tempo that if you could pull that off, I don't see how any opponent comes back from that. Like, everyone's worried about, 8/8s on turns 5 and 6. Like, what if I'm pulling out 4/4s on turn 2 and 3? Like, that's really strong.
I mean, it's a god mulligan, right? Like, you have to
but
start.
It's what you're going to be aiming for anyways, right?
Yeah. That's a really good 1, 2, 3. And I mean, as the stars have to align, but they align more often than not.
Right. And, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just saying, like, like, there's things like, like how Pirate Warrior was, if they got the 1, 2, 3 draw, you couldn't win. You just lost the game. Like, there was just no way to come back. And this kind of feels like that, like a 4/4 on turn 2 with taunt, a 4/5 on turn 3 with taunt, and then it gives you other cards in your hand. Like, that just seems really good.
And then maybe you found your other Into the Fray, and like the 2 1/1 scarabs you have are now 3/3s for 1 mana. Yeah,
it does seem like it could snowball very quickly.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly does. And you know, I didn't want to write it off by saying that's like a God mulligan, but that's the high roll potential, right? So the way that this deck works is like, can it win when it doesn't high roll the start of the game like that? And if the answer is yes, then rad, because when you do high roll like that, it feels disgusting. Basically, what I'm asking for is taunt Murlocs, because that's how my Murloc deck works. It's just like, can I win when I don't open perfect? Yes. Do I win easily when I do open perfect? The answer is yes. So,
before we move on, I want to ask you a question about the art again for the audio listeners. Why did you call Frightened Flunky Shaggy for the audio listeners?
Oh, audio listeners, if you haven't looked at Frightened Flunky, this is just straight up Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Like straight up, right?
Yeah.
Not even trying to hide it.
Like it looks like him, exactly like him.
Like this has got to be Matt Dixon art. This is totally Matt Dixon style. I bet he like calls his art director, or I bet he didn't even call him. He just like sent the thumbnail. He just, and the art director just goes, "Is that Shaggy?" He goes, "Yeah." And they're like, "Cool, let's go with it."
So someone in chat saying was the flavor text for Frightened Flunky should be Zoinks.
Like Zoinks, man.
Wow, that's a really good Shaggy voice.
I hate
really
that
good.
it's one of my better impressions because I have a very strong dislike of Scooby-Doo.
Oh, God.
That was a show I remember coming home from school and being like, damn it, why is this on? So
Apparently your art identification is on point, Garrett, because it is indeed a Matt Dixon piece.
oh, he has a really, really strong, really recognizable style.
Yeah.
So also did I believe in Noyatron, which like is just
Yes.
burned into my memory. So
Noyatron is probably my favorite art that they've ever done in Hearthstone. I just love Noyatron so much.
yeah. So let's talk about some neutrals. If you're watching on the video, I just went and screen capped the damn website. There's too many neutrals and a lot of them are bad. So we're not going to like spend a lot of time talking about all of them, but I do want to scroll around, and this is a weird order. I want to talk about Colossus of the Moon first, because this is a cool neutral. It's a 10 mana 10/10 legendary neutral minion with Divine Shield and Reborn. That's just rad.
Yeah.
I mean, it would come back as a 10/1, but it would still get that Divine Shield.
But it still has the Divine Shield, yeah. Oh, I like the chat room is saying Eureka Shaman. I love that idea.
Oh, yeah.
Eureka Shaman, here I come.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yep.
If you can get this out for what? Eureka's 6 mana or 5 mana? What is it?
Eureka is
6 mana.
6 mana.
Yeah, I think it's 6. Yeah, a 6 mana 10/10 Divine Shield that can come back.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also wanted to talk about where the heck is Mogu Cultist. Oh yeah, Mogu Cultist is a 1 mana 1/1 epic neutral minion that reads Battlecry. If your board is full of Mogu Cultists, sacrifice them all and summon Highkeeper Raw, which is a 10 mana 20/20. Although it doesn't matter that it's 10 mana because you summon it. At the end of your turn, deal 20 damage to all enemies,
Including the enemy hero. So this is everybody. And this falls into the same kind of boat, I think, that the Desert Obelisk did last week, where it was, if you have 3 copies of this, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. So each of the copies of that card are going to be doing the same thing. So you're looking at potentially a lot of face damage or some like board control and face damage. And all of them seem like really cool, really interesting neutrals to play around with to try to figure out how to get as many onto the board as possible.
Yeah, like this is like meme city and a half, but
yeah,
I love these kind of
100%.
cards. I love these kind of cards. Reminds me of like, Blood of the Ancient One.
Oh, I was trying to think of what it was called. Yeah, Blood of the Ancient One. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth noting that this is also a battle cry too. So you have to play it from your hand, and you have to already have 6 on board.
Yes.
So that's trickier than just being like, okay, I have this on board. I'm just going to make a full board of these, something like copy, do whatever.
Yeah.
Like you have to have 6.
Have at least 1 in your hand for after the 6 are on board. Yeah.
Exactly.
No
So that's
problem. You just Shadow of Death it, you Myras. You've got a Shadow Step in your hand already. You're done. You're done.
easy.
It's over. You figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Also,
so
you have to double
Shadow
Shadow of Death it. You'd have to
Yeah.
have both Shadows of Death in hand. You'd have to get both of them. So you're already out 8 mana, although you could prep. So okay. Yeah, it's realistic. It's meme as hell, but it's realistic.
But if you can pull it off, then I feel like, again, it's kind of one of those things that's very Mechathune-y, right? Like, if you can pull it off and if it's moderately viable, I'm totally on board. I think like Obelisk decks could be a thing. Cultist decks could be a thing. Now we've seen Priest. Obviously, Priest is the one that springs to mind whenever we're talking about, you know, resurrecting things or many copies of things and stuff. I'm always thinking Priest. So Priest has gotten a lot of very powerful cards outside of these effects. So I don't know how many Priest players are actually going to be playing around with this, but I really want to see somebody try to make an Obelisk deck work and a Cultist deck work. I think they could be really cool.
Yeah, Priest and Rogue seem to be the most likely culprits. Jerem's saying that the Shadows wouldn't trigger it. I'm not saying the Shadows would. I would use the Rogue Shadows to fill the board.
Yeah.
Either play the last Mogu Cultist, or if I already had 7 on board, I would Shadow Step and then replay or bounce back in some way.
Yeah. But oh man, chat room's also saying cube shenanigans and wild. All right, I'll give you cube shenanigans just because I think that cultist shenanigans could be worth playing cube.
I'm gonna go get like a plaid blazer and I'll be like, Jocelyn, what will it take to get you to play this cube deck?
Cultist shenanigans is the answer to that question.
Cultist shenanigans. I will say though, I've played Hearthstone at least a little bit every single day. Some days more than others, obviously. But the entire time that Blood of the Ancient One was playable, I never once saw the combined version. I don't remember what it's called.
The Ancient One.
Oh yeah, okay, just the Ancient One. I never once saw it, and like I said, I played every single day. So, I mean, if somebody does this to me, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, dude, you win!" Like, I'm gonna friend request them right away. I'm gonna be like, "Hey, man, that was awesome! Like, you rule."
And then you're immediately gonna submit a crazy game story in the patron Discord, and we're going to have you back on the show to just read it yourself.
Sure, I definitely will do that.
I do think the difference between the cultists and the obelisks and Blood of the Ancient One is the Blood of the Ancient One itself for one version of the card. Granted, the condition was less because you only had to have 2, but the card itself cost 9 mana. The cultist costs 1. So if you can somehow figure out how to res some and have other copies in your hand, you could theoretically play out all 7 in one turn, right? Because you could just like all 7 to fill your board would be 7 mana. So that's a much more doable condition than attempting to do Blood of the Ancient One 9 mana shenanigans, right? There's not a whole lot of wiggle room there, but with 1 mana cultist, you've got a little bit more wiggle room.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff. Also, Highkeeper Ra just looks like Kratos with hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like Kratos Odin. Croden? Kratoden. There we go. We got it. We got there, everybody. Save your emails. I know I'm amazing. I did want to talk about Mortuary Machine for a second because I think this is a neutral you should keep your eye on. It's a 5 mana 8/8. It's an epic neutral mech, and it reads, after your opponent plays a minion, give it reborn. So much like the low-costed big minions of the past, it does have a drawback, but we have seen cards like this get used before. I think this will be kept in check because of Ziliax right now, but Ziliax isn't going to be around forever, specifically next year. And, you know, it's not, they may not have Ziliax. So...
Yeah, the thing is, this is a really big downside because it's not like the first minion they play. This is a persistent effect. So this could snowball against you pretty quickly, I think. So I don't know if this is ever really going to see play. Randomly generated by Boom Hero Power, maybe, but I don't think you ever pick this, so maybe the idea was just to make that pool a little worse. I don't know, but I don't think that you really build a deck around this. It's too big of a drawback. I feel like it's a bigger drawback even than Fel Reaver, right?
Oh, totally. Yes. Yeah, just straight up yes. I'm not gonna if and or buts that. No, I completely agree. but it's still an 8/8 for 5 mana. Just something to keep in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible this could bring a Silence Priest, being able to play this and then silence a minion and summon a copy of it?
Yeah.
Or the silent adjacent minions, or even just silence, like a 5 mana
Just
8/8.
straight up,
Throw
0 mana
silence on it,
silence. Yeah.
It's something. I'm not saying it's good by any means. I'm just saying, being able to summon a copy, silence, and then summon a copy is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's definitely at the top of your list if you start going back to the Silence Priest well. For sure.
I did play Silence Priest a lot. It was pretty cool. I did make it day one. I did play it, and then I was like, yeah, this deck's not good. And then I moved on. But I did play it.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit as well. I don't really want to talk about Generous Mummy. 3 mana, 5/4, rare neutral minion with Reborn. Your opponent's cards cost 1 less. That is bad. That's keeping the Reborn pool in check. That's what that's doing. I did want to talk about Neferset Ritualist, though. This is a 2 mana, 2/3, rare neutral minion with a battle cry that reads, restore adjacent minions to full health. Crocolisk is crying crocodile tears right now. This card is great. That's a strong effect.
Yeah. And I mean, this goes in your Quest Priest. This goes just, oh man, so many places. So good.
Yeah,
Reborn decks, Priest, Arena. Just a blanket statement, Arena. I want this card.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is gross in Arena.
Yeah.
Just like do value trades and then my guys are full health. Just kidding.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's solid. And then what was the other? There's another legendary they showed, right? King Pharaoh. Ferris? I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. Anyway, King Ferris is a 10 mana 5/5 legendary neutral minion with a battle cry that reads, for each spell in your hand, summon a random minion of the same cost. For each spell in your hand.
Which is really freaking cool. Like, obviously, 10 mana 5/5, bad. But this effect, so cool. Like, it gives me Spiteful Summoner vibes.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me the vapors. It's just good. Yeah, Spiteful Summoner, like on just turned up to 11 for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is like a 1-turn swingy play. So obviously, like, there's lots of board removal type cards that would come into play. But man, this just seems, if nothing else, super fun. Like, I want to build some sort of like, well, I mean, even if you go back to the wild conversation, talking about like big spell mage, like, sure. This seems like it's another what's her face with the dragons?
Dragon Caller Alana.
I was gonna say Elysiana, but I'm like, no, that's the new one.
You said you were jet lagged and we're bad with card names.
Yeah, come on, you're saving my butt.
I am, and I want to let chat know it's very easy to hear us talk about a card on the stream and then say the name of it in the chat, because I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, this is the card. Like, how did they not know this? This is the card. And then being on here, I'm like, oh, what is that card? Like, I almost forgot Explosive Trap. I almost said, oh yeah, that's the same thing as like Flame Trap. And I was like, that's not right. That is definitely not right.
When you are in the conversation, it can be difficult to just divine it. That's why, like, you always hear on the show, we go like the 1 mana 1/1. If you got the board full of them, you summon the Ra. It's fine. You got it.
Yeah.
That's I don't know why I did like a really bad Jersey accent, but
but yeah, I feel like this is almost could go in that wild big spell mage with Dragon Caller Alana, and it's almost like it's like shoring up a problem with that deck, because sometimes it's like you get Alana in your hand, but you haven't had a chance to cast your spells yet. If you haven't had a chance to cast your spells yet, then you play King Pharaohs. And if you have casted your spells, then you play Alana. Like, this seems like just the perfect combination of cards in that big spell mage. So I want to give that a try for sure. Yeah, I like this card.
Yeah, it seems really good. Just making a board from nothing is always really good. Like, just having minions, even if you get 2 minions off it. Like you're still getting, say you get a 7-drop and a 5-drop, like a 5/5, a 7-drop, and a 5-drop. Like that's amazing,
Oh, Puzzle Box. Yes. Anything that works with Puzzle Box, I'm on board. I'm so stoked for that card.
We can't be friends anymore. I don't want that card to exist.
I know it upsets you, but I'm so excited.
I hate it. Hey, we were talking about the desire for a slow druid to work a lot earlier. If that archetype becomes a thing, it's running big spells because it wants to bring its Lucent Bark back and get its free, what the hell is the thing called? It's all the way at the top of the notes. The Anubisat Defender. It probably runs this. It probably runs Ferris. I don't know why this one has tripped me up so much on the name, by the way.
Yeah.
But
I think I'm just going to say it Ferris, whether that's right or not. That's just what it's called now.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it Ferris like Ferris Bueller. We also saw Siamat. It's a 7-mana, 6/6 legendary neutral elemental minion with a battle cry that reads, gain 2 of Rush, Taunt, Divine Shield, or Wind Fury, your choice.
Yeah, so I imagine this is probably because, okay, if you guys haven't gone to watch this video, please stop listening to the sound of my voice. Go watch the reveal video because this was revealed in the same video as the Mage Secret was. And it's so good. so good.
The video, I saw it minutes before the podcast and I contemplated being late to the podcast to watch it again. I was like, I'm going to watch it again because it's that good. Like, I can't believe people are that talented to be able to make this sort of amazing production. Like,
yeah, the cosplay and then the just the filming and then all the effects.
It was so another amazing real life Hearthstone reveal, which they've done a couple of now. And
yeah,
you know what I said at the end of this?
It's amazing LP. If you guys are curious, that's who did the card reveal.
Yeah. Do you know what I said at the end of this reveal?
What?
Wow.
Oh man, I wasn't gonna spoil it, but that alone is worth it. Like, watch it for that alone.
It's so freaking good, y'all. I can't. And also, I think this card might be good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 7-mana 6/6 is okay stats, but then, I mean, I'm guessing that this is what I was going to say, is that because the card reveal doesn't actually show the card in action with Hearthstone footage, I'm assuming this is like a discover thing, right? So it pops up, you get to discover one of the 4 effects, and then it pops up again. Same as like an adapt thing would.
I would hope so. Yeah.
And then, I mean, chat room's also pointing out Shudderwalk, which I think 100% like this goes in Shaman for sure, right? If you're playing around with the quest, if you're playing around with Shudderwalk, like this is a thing Shamans are going to want to do.
I can't wait to throw this battle cry on my Shudderwalk. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
This card seems really strong. And this is what I like to see on my neutrals. This is the kind of thing I want multiple classes to be able to play around with.
Yeah, it's just like it's like Alec here. Like you got to choose what you need when you need it. So it's like, oh, I don't necessarily need Rush right now. Let's give it Wind Fury and Divine Shield. Oh, I need to secure the board. Let's give it Rush and Wind Fury. Like bam, bam. Like it's really good. There's like not an instance where I don't think this is like you're gonna hold it back. Like on turn 7, you can play it on an empty board or a full board. Like you can just do it.
And you're given the flexibility to make it whatever you need it to be. So yeah, I think this is a really, really cool card. The one thing I should probably mention is because the battle cry is what is going to give it taunt. This is not something that Warrior is going to be able to use if that taunt buff thing becomes a thing. So
it's fine.
Yeah, which is totally fine. But yeah, just if anyone is thinking, oh, I'll put it in my Taunt Warrior deck because it has Taunt, it doesn't innately have these things. You discover them on the battle cry.
I'm going to put it in any deck in Wild with Bran, and I'm just going to laugh as I get to pick a million things.
I get all 4. That's
you get all the things, yeah.
Yep, just Siamat all the things. That's what that combo is called.
Siamat all the things combo.
It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. I mean, you could choose Wind Fury 4 times, which would be amazing if it then like stacked like 4 stacks of Wind Fury, then you get to attack 8 times.
Yep.
That would be terrible, guys. It's not a thing I actually want.
The only other neutral I really wanted to talk about was Bone Wraith, because it's a 4-mana, 2/5 common neutral minion that has Taunt and Reborn, and I think that's okay. I think it's an okay minion to have in the Reborn pool. Also, it just makes me want to yell Bone Storm, because it kind of looks like Marrowgar from ICC.
A little bit. Bone Storm!
Yeah. Yeah, but I like this card. And if you're finding random Reborn minions, I'm sure you'd much rather find this than Generous Mummy.
Yes.
Also another taunt minion. We could have talked about this with Warrior.
Are we really going to move on without talking about the most flavorful card of the entire set?
Are you talking about Sunstruck Henchman?
Yes, I am.
Sunstruck
I am.
Henchman.
How cool is this? Like, the ogre effects have always been funny and cool, but I think this one is super cool.
Yeah, Sunstruck Henchman is a 4-mana 6/5 rare neutral that reads at the start of your turn. This has a 50% chance to fall asleep.
Now,
amazing.
The fall asleep is basically like the summoning sickness effect, right?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't 100% sure if it was like dormant or if it was summoning sickness. Because the way that Hearthstone is worded isn't like summon a minion, but it's asleep.
I'm just assuming that because they have the Z,
that's what it was. Yeah.
Like they have the Z effect. If they're not utilizing that here with this card that no one will play, it's a missed opportunity.
But yeah, I just wasn't sure if this was like dormant, but yeah.
Yeah.
Fall asleep like summoning sickness minions makes more sense because of the Z animation.
Yeah.
Oh, they did show a video? Okay. Most of these I haven't seen the actual.
I didn't. Yeah.
For. Most of these I've just been like pulling from sites and stuff.
I don't watch reveals. I just look at the card.
I look at the card over on Competitive HS, which we should also give a shout out because the people over there are awesome and they have so many good ideas. There's also a thread on just the regular Hearthstone subreddit that has all of the reveals in order and links to all discussion thread. Like literally every card that's revealed has its own thread on Reddit. So if you guys aren't going over there, you should for expansion reveals because they do a really, really good job.
Yeah, I have never had a head for pulling potential combos out of thin air. And yeah, Competitive HS is absolutely my favorite place to go and read up about, even if it's meme. Like they're not, like sometimes people get in there, get a little mean about memes, but for the most part, like they'll talk about the serious stuff and the memes. So if you want to like see some crazy theory crafted stuff, you should definitely go check out the Competitive HS subreddit. So, yeah, there were other neutrals that were revealed. I don't really think there's anything else here worth talking about, especially since we're like going on almost hour 3 here.
Yeah, we are literally like I think we were joking about potentially being a 3-hour show, but yeah, we are coming up on hour 3. So I think we should. Yeah. So I need some food in my belly.
Head on over to the official Hearthstone website if you need to get caught up on the rest of the neutrals. I don't think there's any that have been revealed that are totally set the game on fire, so you can catch up on them on your own. If you'd like to write in and be a part of the show, we've got probably one more big card reveal episode to get through, but after that we will be back to your regularly scheduled Angry Chicken with segments. And when that happens, we're going to need your emails, and we're going to need your emails that are about things that didn't happen in the previous meta. So as soon as this expansion goes live, or you're out at a fireside pre-release playing the game, we want to hear from you, want to hear your stories, what's working for you, what do you not like, and what's that crazy game story that you have to share with us. Send them in to tacpodcast@gmail.com. If you're supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC, you can just message us right there in the patron Discord or on the Patreon itself. Plenty of places to get in touch with us, and if you support us, you can skip the inbox entirely. But again, tacpodcast@gmail.com. Speaking of our patrons, thank you so much if you're supporting us. If you want to support us, the place to do so is patreon.com/TAC. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H., Sean C., and Cheesy Bob, and Vigil, sitting here right with us. And other than that, follow the show on TAC Podcast on Twitter. That's where you're going to find announcements of guests like Vigil here. We're talking to Raven. He is on quite the time difference from us, but if everything works out, he should be joining us next week.
And then the week after, looks like we're going to have Cora.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
The guests are coming fast and furious. And that's not a tease that Vin Diesel will be joining us, although that would be awesome.
Vin Diesel, if you're listening.
Yes, Vin, I know you listen, buddy. I'm going to call you just by your first name because we're that close.
Yeah.
Please come on the Angry Chicken and talk about Hearthstone, which maybe you play. I don't know. I know some of his tattoos in the Triple X movie were his D&D characters from when he was a kid. So I know, he's got some nerd blood coursing through his veins.
Totally does. Definitely does.
But before we go, Vigil, dude, you are our guest today. Where can everybody find you?
You can follow me over on my Twitch stream at Vigil SC. I'm over there usually 4 days a week. I'm going to be gone the next month. I'm going to be in Florida, your neck of the woods, Garrett, working on some songs with my band. So won't be streaming. I'm bringing my laptop, so I might be doing a few laptop streams. But normally on Twitch is where you can find me. Twitter, Instagram, it's just my name, Jonathan Vigil. And you can also catch me Thursday, this Thursday, for doing the live the theory crafting stream at Blizzard. I'm got invited alongside Purple, Ali Straza, Dexter, Slissa, and Regis Kilman for the theory crafting live stream. And I need Dex to bring, so I'm going to be streaming tonight. If you guys want to come help me theory craft Dex to bring, I would love the help. So come check it out, Vigil SC.
That's awesome. And also, everyone should check out your band that goes inside, because you guys like rock super hard. I'm so glad that you're back, and I'm very jealous to certain members of Team 5 and Hearthstone players that got to go attend your show.
Yeah, I had a lot of people hit me up that I didn't think were fans of the band, and were like, "Oh, I'm so excited for your show." And I'm like, "You like our band? You want to come to the show?" Like, and Hearthstone streamer, competitor, was like hit me up and was like, "Hey, like, cool, congrats on the show." And I'm like, "Speaking of, do you want to come to the show? That'd be awesome to have you." So
I talked to Ant at BlizzCon about the Ghost Inside. I forget how it came up. I think he was talking to Chris about it, the CM for Hearthstone, because they're both fans. And yeah, they were just like, "Oh, we're going to their show when it happens." And I was just like, I wish I still lived in Southern California. But
that's all right. I think like I was saying earlier in the show, I think the show put a lot of stuff into perspective for us on what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. And I think that there is a future for us playing live.
Oh, that's
yay!
I think, yeah, for those of you that don't know, our band was in an accident on tour, and we've been out of commission for a few years, and back to it and see what we got going on. So stoked for that.
Well, rad. Everyone go check it out. Again, it's the Ghost Inside. You want the newer stuff, go check out Dear Youth, or if you want to get real old, go back to 2006 and listen to A Dying Dream. But
don't listen to that. don't go back that far.
Hey, what of your Dying Dream songs made your first album, didn't it?
That's true. It did. I appreciate the plug, but definitely don't listen to A Dying Dream. The Ghost Inside on, please.
I am glad that bands I were in existed before the dawn of YouTube. No one can go back and see how bad I was. Jocelyn,
what did you play?
Guitar. And
okay.
I was usually also the singer, but nobody needs to know that.
Ooh.
Jocelyn, you've seen Drunk Garrett karaoke. You've been there for that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Drunk Garrett karaoke was also tied to bands, though. This is a thing I need to see.
Luckily, there's never a way for that to come up. There's never just, oh, look, there's instruments and people who know songs I know how to play. That never happens. So this is good. We're fine.
I'm totally gonna write a letter to your mother, like an old school in the mail letter, and be like, "Please tell me there's a VHS tape somewhere. I have a VCR at my cottage. I can watch it. Please send."
That would be amazing.
My mom definitely has one.
Yeah.
100%. There was a YMCA show, which I was like super jazzed about because it's actually a venue and not a plywood stage built in someone's backyard. Yeah. There's a video of that, and
yes.
I now have to go destroy my parents' property. So before I go do that, Jocelyn, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joce Plays. That's JOCE Plays. And I've been sticking to a more regular stream schedule. So I've been doing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for sure. Sometimes on Wednesdays. So do come check it out. I stream all kinds of stuff. So I've got WoW raids on Sunday and Tuesday. I've been playing a whole lot of Dead by Daylight, which I'm in love with. Some Hearthstone sometimes. Some last night was Sea of Thieves. So I'm kind of touching all kinds of different genres of games. So if you like variety streaming, then come and check me out.
Everyone should definitely go do that. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can find me on there, 2 R's and 2 T's in the spelling of Garrett. I trust you know how to spell art. All of the podcasts I do, including this one, can be found over at amove.tv. Everything's coming back this week, everybody. Angry Chicken is in the bag for almost 3 hours. I've got Into the Nexus on Thursday. Heroes of the Storm, despite, a lot of people on YouTube like to call it a dead game, getting a new original hero. A new original hero was just announced for Heroes of the Storm. And with that same patch, we're getting an overhauled rank system. This game is so far from dead. I can't believe how much support it's still getting, even though the team has essentially been halved in the size of their dev team. I think it's in the best place it's ever been. So if you enjoy Heroes of the Storm, or you're getting back into it, or you're just finding it for the first time, the podcast Into the Nexus is the place to go and get all your info about Blizzard's MOBA. So go subscribe to that. And also, if you haven't heard it, Jocelyn and I did a 3-parter Embrace the Spoilers podcast covering the newest season of Stranger Things. So you can get that wherever podcasts are found. Just search for Embrace the Spoilers. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Ooh, a little impression there.